Ano bigla? Sorry guys, nabigla ako doon sa nakita ko, dumidila na naman ako. Anyhow, what the heck with... Who made that one?
I don't know. We'll
Anyhow, good
I
evening
would guess
guys.
Joe.
I guess it's Joe. So good evening everyone. This is Timeless Gamers Podcast, where our games and bodies may grow old, but our gaming experience will remain timeless. So
Timeless.
this, yan. So good evening, guys, and good morning, Dan. Good morning, Tito
Morning.
Joel. Good evening,
Hello, good
Juan, and
morning.
good morning, sir. Good evening, Sir Pao. And by the way, this show is brought to you by, well, Pinoy Retro Gaming. So yesterday, just a quick review lang, guys. Yesterday, the Pinoy Retro Gaming crew went here in my crib, in my little crib, and we actually celebrated our PRG anniversary, or Pinoy Retro Gaming anniversary. So, um, well, in on all the supporters out there, whether you're in the international side and domestic side, locally side, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to give you some retro gaming contents that you surely love. So yeah. Long live PRG. Good evening, PRG fam. In the chats right now. So
Mm.
let's do this. Let's do this thing. So I'm having some nervous things right now. It's my first
Yeah,
time again. Again,
Butterflies.
butterfly
yeah.
effect.
Don't worry
It's my
about
first
it,
time again.
Raymond.
All right.
Don't worry about
So
it, Raymond.
right now,
We're right behind you all the way. Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
right now, our topic is all about the gaming myths, as seen as an our episode. But before that, we're just going to tackle some what do you call this? A movie review or a movie perspective, because recently, Super Mario Brothers was released last April 19. So wait, I'll just put my share screen here.
Mhm.
And so so right now in theaters, Super Mario Brothers now is already showing on the cinemas, and we have the opportunity because one of our panelists, Sir Pau, has already seen it. So, Pau, which as a gamer and as a moviegoer, what are your thoughts about this movie?
Well, I would like to start first by talking as a moviegoer since I am more of a gamer than just a moviegoer, knowing that I have been playing these games way back way back in my childhood. So if as a moviegoer who's just, as Tito Joel would tell earlier, who's just bored and just wants to find something to watch, mm, seeing that this is also in cooperation with Illumination Entertainment, the the people behind the Despicable Me and Minions movies,
Mhm.
this is very much expected to be for kids. And knowing that, it could be appealing to a moviegoer like me if I want to see something fun enter and entertaining. It could not appeal to me if I am not that one who's a fan of such such kind of movies made for kids. But then me who is also looking for certain details that would tell if a movie is good or bad. I I listen to the soundtracks that were used, and even as a moviegoer of my age, who who has a s- who has somewhat knowledge the with with the game, with the franchise, to the source material in general. I would say that I would say that it's pretty decent, and and at the same time it's cool to hear certain soundtracks that, well, you would not really expect to hear, knowing that Super Mario is an 80s icon being created in 1985. It's somewhat cool to hear soundtracks from that decade itself, and I'm not gonna say some of those soundtracks unless you yourself have heard them in certain trailers. Maybe they're maybe real or unreal. As
Mm.
So as
oh,
a gamer,
okay.
that play the game, what are the game references in the movie?
Now,
Easter
now,
eggs.
okay. As a gamer,
Mm.
the references, the Easter eggs, you you would find them in spots that you will not really expect, although it's really hard to mention some of this because I could possibly spoil anything for those who haven't watched it yet, because the
So it's better them to be to find it out rather
yes,
than to spoil them.
yes, because
Exactly. Right.
all those Easter eggs are more of a spoilers for everyone who haven't watched the movie.
Actually, it's not kind of a spoiler right now. It's already the fourth day of the it's the
Well,
fourth day of movie. Pero it's okay. It's okay, Pao. Pero
mhm.
yeah, that's it. So
Maybe,
thank you so
and
much, Pao, for
oh yeah,
again. Yes, yes.
yeah, and one more thing, I can say that even though it kind of sucks that it's not the voice actor that we know, since this is Chris Pratt. At least he tried his best, even though it's not 100% as accurate as the voice actor of Mario that we know. And overall, as I have mentioned in my post
Mm.
yesterday, the best thing about movies is that they stay true to the source material.
Man. Exactly. Right. It's better to be in the source material nga.
Mhm.
Stay true for the source material.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
As you know, he might be a good Chris Pratt, but he's certainly no Captain Lou Albano. I guess I'm deriving from I'm deriving from Sir Pau's review, and JDM gets that reference. Okay, Juan de
And
Marcos gets that
also,
reference.
I don't think I would like the movie if it was voiced by um
Charles Martinet.
what's the
Charles.
guy? Yeah,
Charles Martinet.
Charles Martinet. Because if he's voicing Mario, he was only using like punchlines, right? Like
Mhm.
phrases. It's not like the entire he's saying entire sentences.
But
Yeah,
as a wrestling
actually.
fan, JDM, you would support if it was Captain Lou Albano doing the voice, right?
Of course,
Ooh.
Yeah,
yes.
there you go. See.
He has the physique as well, right?
Oh yeah, he absolutely has a physique. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Dan is familiar with the 90s. Was it 80s or 90s cartoon series of Super Mario Brothers? Were you, Dan?
I know of it. I've seen clips. I
Oh,
don't think I've
you've
watched
never
it.
seen
No.
it? Oh, it was a formative
Uh,
part of our childhoods. It was a formative
This
mm-hmm.
part
is
of our
like a
childhood.
fan, Tito Joel.
Oh
It's
yeah, that's true. That's true.
okay.
Yes, that's true. But yeah,
Dan is a Sega fan.
yes, that's
If
true. But
we're going to ask him if
mm,
he watched the Sonic
mm,
animation, he definitely watched it na.
mhm,
So,
yeah. That's true. That's true. It's just that, just letting Dan know that back in the 80s or 90s, when it was showing in the Philippines, Super Mario Brothers was the cartoon series, and with the live action segments with Captain Lou Albano was big for us gamers back then, because it was the one of the first times that we'd ever seen a show based on one of our video game series.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, it was kind of part of our formative years. If you
I
saw
think I
Captain
think
Lou Albano. Mhm.
I think one of the things that always strikes me is
Mm,
that being brought up. Let's say I like Sega and Nintendo in my teens, but
mm,
Sega were more connected to
mm,
the 80s movie franchise. It were
mm,
more a case of most Sega games were based on a action based movie. So you've got Afterburner that were
mm.
based on Top Gun.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, you'd got like Shinobi, which were based on all your various ninja films and that. So,
Shokosugi ninja movies. Oh, I love those.
exactly. So it were kind of like the other way around. I was more into things like I wanted to watch a movie and then see the game of the movie rather
Yes.
than the other way
Mm,
around. As a
mm.
kid, but it's obviously changed now, and it's obviously changed.
That's a very good way of thinking about it. Actually, that's cool. That is very true, Dan. Sometimes, and Sega's approach was more of watch, take the movie and then make a great video game out of it, shall we say. And it's not necessarily a licensee of the movie that the video game was made out of, but it was fun nevertheless. All right, back to you, Raymond.
Okay. So thank you so much, Pau. So
Mhm.
let's go now to our main topic, which is the gaming myths that
Mm,
will be held by our own Sir Pao. So Sir Pao,
Mhm.
take it away.
So, so good evening again, and for this episode, I have just thought about certain things that I remember when I play games back in my childhood days, especially during those days where there's no internet and no social media. We only rely on walk written walkthroughs, gaming magazines, and most especially what we call the word of the mouth, wherein people say this, people say that about the games that we play, and so gaming with myths were born in those days, especially during the 90s. So the first question would be, what are gaming myths and why do these myths exist? Why would people make up, or make these myths for us to believe in, or for us to at least try to prove if it's true?
Uh, for me, for for the well, they want some
Sa
I think they want some enjoyment in the game. At the
mhm,
same time, ma-excite
mm,
on the game. So whether if the myth is true or not. So it depends
mm.
It depends whether if the myth is true or if it's not, right?
mhm. So so I guess it's just for the sake of making us believe that this is part of a game, that
Mm.
if that's how I see it.
Well, if you want my opinion, Sir Pao,
Yeah.
my opinion as to why people tended to make gaming myths or try to spread rumors about video games back in the old days, you kind of pinpointed it right off the bat. Those were the days that there was no such thing as an internet.
Mhm.
So we thrived on nothing but word of mouth, rumors, and gossip. So in those days, when something got really popular, people tended to kind of say, wouldn't it be cool if something like this were there? And then that kind of morphs into, yeah, that is kind of cool. And then, the word would kind of get passed around as, wouldn't it be nice? It turns from wouldn't it be nice to I'd heard it something like this was in there.
Yeah.
So it kind of morphed into this little mythology slash urban legend slash rumor gossip that something like this might be in there, but I'm not sure. I'd heard a guy tell another guy, and that guy told me while I was behind the dumpster. So, so something like that, would happen. And that was the 80s. There was no such thing as the internet. We would pass things by word of mouth, and things started to develop a life of their own because people played something, wished there was more to it, and kind of shot the breeze, and it developed a life of its own. That's my personal guess on how a lot of these myths came to be.
Yeah.
and and that made me realize one thing. No one knows where this myths came from.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, you have a lot of the time you have no idea where a particular myth comes from unless it was one of the famous April Fool's Day myths in a particular magazine, which we will be discussing as the episode goes on.
Yes.
So, yeah. How about Dan? Well, I'm curious about what Dan's take on it is.
Mhm.
I agree. I think a lot of gaming myths come from that. I also think they come from very clever promoters too. I think
Ah.
very clever promoters um, uh, got wind. Like I say, I think a lot of it is generated, as you say, Sir Joel,
Mm.
from players themselves wanting more out of the game. But then I also think promoters get wind of that and then start to push. Do you know this might happen? Do you know that might happen? And it
Mm.
creates a mythos and a bit of interest around the game too.
That's yeah, I completely agree on that one. When let's hear from one of our less verbal guys, but he's a man of action himself, Juan de Marcos. I want to hear what JDM might
Yeah,
think about this whole thing.
I was actually about to say about
Mm,
the promotions, the marketing.
mm,
Yeah, it's all about the marketing. Come on.
mm,
Uh, it's not enough to put uh, Sega does what Nintendo don't,
mm,
and uh, like pictures on the magazine. Let's
mm,
just put it in the game.
mm,
Yeah.
So people will try to find it, uh, however, whatever ways they can. And I think that's the beauty of it. Creating a game, putting any Easter eggs inside, so people can like it will actually help with the replayability of the game, right? Especially when they are those large open world games where you are free to explore the worlds, and yeah, it's going to be like a big treasure chest, treasure map of Easter eggs.
yeah. Uh,
So
Sorry about that. Dan, go ahead. Was
No,
was it Dan who was speaking? Oh, okay, sorry about that.
oh,
First things first, though. Let's it's not just us here in the panel who are having a conversation. It sounds like the people in the chats are going crazy over what they define as myths are and legends. Let's have somebody read them out. Sir Pao, since you're the captain, you take the helm.
so so let's start with this from our Pinoy Retro Gaming Master, Cuebel Valenzuela.
Yeah.
Video games are only for boys. This is a
That,
myth that suggests that video games are only enjoyed by boys and that girls are not interested in them. In reality, girls and women make up a significant portion of the gaming community.
very true, very true. Proof positive of that was my missus, is my missus, and she's as much of a gamer as I am. It's just that we game differently. She loves her Sims. She loves her Bejeweled games. She absolutely loves those. She gets into a Zen mode when she plays Bejeweled. Anyway, continue, Sir Pao.
We have here from our Facebook comments, Ray Q. And he says, "What's amazing about these myths is different countries share or have the same gaming myths." So it's like he's pointing out that it's not just happening here, it's not just happening there, but it's happening everywhere. These myths are everywhere worldwide, and
Which kind of
whether the, and
sorry,
whether
sorry,
these
Sir Pao.
myths are game based
Mm,
or
mm,
as I would like to say, hardware based.
Hmm. Which kind of lends credence to JDM's and Sir Dan's theory of it being partially because of
Mm.
the promoters of the marketers of the game. So because they would have a coordinated effort of, they'd call each other across countries and say, let's kind of foster this rumor about the game to kind of help promote it. It's a
Mhm.
nice little theory, which
True.
is a myth. Maybe right now we can prove it later on, I guess. Continue, Sir Pao.
And from Joe RPG, who will be joining us later if he
Yeah, some
can make it.
strange guy named Joe RPG. I wonder who that guy is.
He's an anonymous guy.
Yeah, I know. He pops up in our chats all the time. But anyway,
Hindi ko siya kilala. Napakadaldal na
yeah,
nilalang.
yeah, he just All right, well, Sir Pao, continue.
And as he says, the conspiracy theorist in me says the developers themselves were scattering these rumors themselves, then deny it hardly when they were called out.
I mean, heck, it reminds me of the old how antivirus makers used to kind of
I was
really.
about to I was about to ask that earlier after JDM mentioned his point of view. So
Mm.
does this mean these game developers are trying to fool us all this time?
I mean, heck, what's the old saying, Dan? Any publicity is good publicity, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Exactly,
Mhm.
mate. Exactly. Any good,
Mhm.
there's no such thing as bad publicity.
There you go. That's it. There's no such thing as bad publicity. There you go. Continue, Sir Pao.
I like
Right?
this comment of Bell.
Mm.
Can
Uh-huh.
I read it?
Sure.
Gaming is a
Go
waste
ahead.
of time. A myth that explains playing games is unproductive and does not provide any benefits. However, research has shown that gaming can improve cognitive abilities, problem solving, and skills and decision making.
Oh,
Basically,
absolutely. That
yes.
is yes. That Bell hit it out of the park with that comment. Really, honestly, gaming is fundamental. Play is fundamental to human development. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And if you think that gaming is detrimental to somebody's development, then you haven't been gaming at all. Maybe
Oh,
that's probably why you're a dull boy.
to back you up on that, I think that's a great
Mhm.
point because my day job is that of a logistics manager. I'm a transport manager,
Oh.
and I organise movements for around 15,000 tons worth of goods nationwide around the
Mm.
um, around 70 vehicle movements a day, and a lot of that I learned from playing strategy games. A
Oh
lot,
well,
a
there
lot,
you go.
a lot, a lot. The grounding of that was from being a young kid and working out resource management and various vehicle movements and whatnot and what have you on strategy games, and then that provided me with like a bit of a foundation to build upon to go into a career with it. So obviously I
Mm.
have to train and learn more on top of that, but it's a similar principle. So video games, I totally agree, are very beneficial in a lot of ways.
There
This
you
remind
go.
this reminds me of a certain people who told me, "Are you gonna earn by playing games? Are
Ah,
you
that's
gonna?"
it's the old how parents used to berate us kids way back when we were in grade school, and we would spend afternoons playing games like crazy. Are you going to make any money doing that? Are you going to make that a career? And surprisingly, nowadays it does make us money, especially if you develop a really good game, or if you go into the game development arena. It can make you a pretty penny. I wouldn't be surprised.
Or even by just streaming, which is our counter attack to those to those
Alright.
complaints right now.
Hmm.
So
All right,
let's
Also about
JDM.
yeah,
Bell's comment,
yeah.
yeah, they say that it's unproductive, it's detrimental, it's not something you should be like delving into. But why? I have to ask this question: why do we have these game developers, right?
Hmm.
That's
Why
true.
do
That is very true.
most of the game developers that we know right now, they started like playing video games, so that's what motivated them to make these video games for everyone.
Hmm.
And in their mind, they would like uh, the young, especially young people, to see that this is how we learn things. And for me, as a personal experience, I grew up playing video games, and I think that is one of the reasons why I can read or speak English, because of
Mm,
the uh, RPG games that I have played when I was a kid.
mm. Very
Nice.
Great
true.
show.
Very true. Hmm.
All right. So let's let's go ahead na, Pao. So what is your topics for
So
this? Ano?
through those comments, we were able to learn certain myths outside of the software, and more of the beliefs of the old. And this time we are now going to talk about some of the most well-known myths in video games itself.
Mm.
Some of these myths that for some until today they are not, or will never be proven true, and some have found their way to being the truth itself. So let's have a look on these gaming myths and talk about them one by one, by era, or by, or should I say by timeline, starting from the time of Atari. And as early as the Atari era, there has already been this there's already been this gaming myth regarding one of Atari's popular games, ET, or
Oh
extraterrestrial,
yeah.
as we have known
ET
it.
as one of the cards programmed by a very good friend of ours, Howard Scott Warshaw, a very good friend of
Yes,
ours in Timeless Gamer. All right,
and
continue, Sir Pao.
and he has been our guest like last year, I guess, if I can remember.
Yeah,
So
about a year ago. Yeah. Mhm.
for this game ET, there was this rumor or myth wherein certain unsold copies were taken out of the shelf, trashed, burned, and then buried in a dump site in New Mexico. So upon learning this myth, on the last time I researched about this, they say that until present day it is still not proven true. But according to one of our panelists right here, I've just heard this from him minutes ago. Tito Joel,
Mm,
Banyagang
yes.
native, mentioned that it has been proven true. So Tito Joel, how was it proven true?
If you guys want, you can actually check out the docu movie. Shall we say? I'm not quite sure what the proper term for it is. It's more of a documentary slash dramatization movie of titled Atari Game Over, if I remember correctly. So it kind of chronicled how the last few days of the company Atari and how they were really suffering from a glut of low quality software that was coming out on their system on Atari. So a lot of carts got got piled up on retailers, and they got an overstock, and they had to ship them back to Atari, and Atari, having no place to put them, was forced to consign them to New Mexico. And yeah, the myth kind of has a ring of truth to it, that, well, not a ring, but like has the bits and pieces of the truth to it, that the thousands of cartridges, not necessarily just ET, but a lot of Atari inventory cartridges, Atari 2600 cartridges, 5200 and 7800, if I remember correctly, Dan, were brought into a landfill in New Mexico and buried there
Mhm.
because it was cheaper to just throw them out and destroy them rather than keep them in storage in warehouses, because keeping them in warehouses costs money. Whereas if you just throw them out now and throw them out, the inventory, just write them off as a loss. You can actually write them off for tax purposes. And Atari might have actually gone that route, said, we are suffering total losses. We'll write this off against our taxes, and we'll just bite the bullet and take the loss in terms of inventory costs. So if you guys want, you can check it out. Atari Game Over, the documentary movie. It actually stars Howard Scott Warshaw. Again, he
Mhm.
was there during the time that they excavated the landfill in New Mexico, and they did find a lot of Atari cartridges down there. Some of
So
which were
it's
ET,
Mhm.
but a lot of it were just various Atari cartridges, and people were there for the excavation, and they were surprised that it was real. So
I see.
yeah, that's it.
So at this point, it's not really that much considered a myth if it was already proven, if it was already proven true. The
Yes.
o- the only thing that's making me ask is if there's other games. Well, why is it that it's only ET that was specifically mentioned?
It's mainly because of the fact that actually Howard Scott Warshaw mentioned this during our interview of him here in Timeless Gamer. You guys can check that out in our archives in the Timeless Gamer PRG YouTube channel. We have our archive of past interviews with Howard Scott Warshaw. He did say that he took the he took the fall for what was considered the worst, one of the worst games of all time, which is, in my personal opinion, absolutely not true. ET was actually a marvel of a game produced under a tremendous time crunch. 6 weeks to produce a game based on a multi-million-dollar property back in the 80s, ET, and it was rushed to market. Everybody who knew about ET wanted to buy the game, and when they bought it, it did not live up to their expectations, and they returned it. So I guess thing about it was that um, the biggest thing about it was Howard took the blame, was blamed for the crash of the gaming video game crash of 1982-83, and he was not instrumental to it, but he became a figurehead of the video game crash of 1982, 1983, and his game ET was the one that was highlighted as one of the major causes of people not wanting to game anymore, and was actually thrown into the landfill because of all the returned inventory. But it's not true in terms of it's not true in terms of Howard being the main cause of it, or ET being the main cause of the video game crash of 82, 83. But he was there. Howard was there, ET was there, and it was part of it. And I guess that has gone into myth and legend now about how Atari, ET, Howard Scott Warshaw was one of the causes of the video game crash of 83, and contributed to the video game myth legend of ET cartridges being dumped by the millions in the landfall in New Mexico, in landfill in New Mexico. So it's a mix of truth and myth, shall we say, Sir Pao?
I
Mhm.
Is
see. So
the landfill in the middle of the desert, or
Mm.
was it in like just an open space?
I think it was
It was desert.
yeah, in the desert. Yeah,
mm,
it was
Because
New
I
Mexico.
remember the fiasco in
Mhm.
2009.
Mm.
I don't know if you remember the let's raid Area 51 or
Oh
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And maybe there were people that were joining the raid. Then they will try to go in Area 51 just to look for the Atari Jaguars in the landfill instead
Mm-mm.
of going inside Area 51. There will be like retro gamers there will join, not to
Mm.
raid Area 51 but to raid that treasure full of Atari, old Atari consoles, something
Well, there
like that.
you go. It's one of the things that really it comprises part of video game history, and it
mhm.
is a very interesting chapter of a video game video game history, considering the fact that there really was a video game crash of 82, 83 that happened here in the US. Not so much in the UK, right? Dan, in the UK,
Yeah.
you guys didn't experience anything of the
We
sort.
didn't. No, we're totally oblivious to that. That we were fine.
There you go. All right, and that kind of puts the capper on Sir Pau's first video game
Yes,
myth about the Atari
about the
cartridges
Atari.
in AT cartridges in the landfill in New Mexico. Mhm.
Yeah. So from that era of Atari, then the video game crash came in. The video game crash came in, and then the following years later, to recover from that crash, a certain system called Nintendo was released, and this began the 8-bit era. And even in the 8-bit era, there are certain myths in some video games that were rampant, especially on games produced by Nintendo itself, and even on the third-party companies that contributed their game for the NES. And and one of these myths in the 8-bit era is the so famous Konami code. But hold it right there. Konami code is not a myth
No,
because
it's not. Mm-mm.
because
Mm-mm.
because Konami code has been proven true to certain games.
Mhm.
However, there are these people who are trying to say that Konami code works on this, Konami code works on that, and they made us believe that the Konami code works on all Konami games. And I was kinda a believer of that, since I have played a certain game before made by Konami. Then then they said that the Konami code works on there, but unfortunately it isn't. So as a gamer who knows the Konami code, that will help that will help you progress in a Konami game, how would you feel if you find out that the Konami code does not work on a Konami game? How is that possible?
I know somebody who has something to say about that. One of his favorite games is a Konami game. JDM. Mm,
Yeah,
JDM.
there's actually Konami. You can enter the Konami code in one of the Metal Gear Solid games, which
Mhm,
is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Mm,
It's in the fight with one of the bosses, the one with the sniper, the end. If you haven't played it, I won't spoil it.
mm,
But if you enter the code, um, it's going to reveal the position of your enemy because it's a very long sniper boss battle. So you're in the middle of the jungle and your goal is to outwit each other. So if
mhm,
you enter the Konami code, you will hear that I think you will hear a chime. Then when you go to the map,
mhm,
it's going to give you I think it's a circle where the boss is hiding in
mhm,
red. So you can use it to your advantage and do like an ambush or something like that. So
mm,
it's it's proven true, but I don't think it applies in every Konami game.
mm.
true.
Well,
And
it's to be fair, I'm just sorting out this very second an example of a game where Konami actually um, uh, recognized that a lot of people were trying this codes in games that didn't work.
mhm.
Have you ever heard of the Legend of the Mystical Ninja, or I believe it's known in Japan as Joman Warrior?
I think I've
I
heard
don't
that
think
before.
I've
Yeah,
played
Goemon
that.
Warrior. I think that's
Goman Warrior.
Goemon
Come
Warrior.
Oh,
Yes.
ah,
I've heard
Gone
of it. I've never
bygone.
played it. I really have to get into that one. Legend of the Mystical Ninja. I think I've seen the cover of it. Tell us about that, Dan.
Well, if you, I'm just gonna share a screen. I think Ray, if you can share it, let me just get it up for you.
Yeah.
If it lets me, I'll just make sure it share screen. Give me a second. Window.
Mm.
Here we go. Okay. So this gentleman is this is on Super Nintendo, and this is the Legend of the Mystical Ninja.
All right.
Um,
Let's have Raymond put up the screen that Dan is sharing. Let's have a very quick look of that. Legend of the Mystical Ninja. I'm always up for finding out about games that are lesser known. You know me. I'm a connoisseur of the obscure.
and this is it's a great game. It really is. It really is a great game.
Okay.
But if you do, can you? I don't know if you can zoom in on that. Oh, I
Yeah,
don't know.
let's see. Likely not. But anyway, describe it to us, Dan.
Anyway, basically, I will try and do it myself here for you, mate. It's basically this is it's a part in a game where Konami have been made aware that this Konami code is a big deal, so they basically take the mick. And here he says you walk into this house. It's a platform game with RPG stroke adventure elements, and you walk into an house, and basically this guy says, just between you and me, if you use the command up down LRBA, the Konami code, nothing will happen.
It says nothing will happen. That is funny. Okay.
So basically, they were well aware that all these people were inputting the Konami code into various games, and nothing were happening. And so they decided to troll the game player and put that in this game, that if you put the code in, nothing will happen. And when I first saw this so I weren't aware of any of this as a kid.
Okay.
When I first saw this as a kid, all I could think of is, why on earth have they put that in the game? That must have, you must activate something. So I tried that code on the title screen, or at different parts in the game, different shops and everything, and nothing happened. So Konami knew what were going off. Konami knew.
I mean, the Konami code, if it does, to be fair, it does work on a lot of Konami games. It does work on Contra, it does work on Gradius, it does work on what was the other game that I was thinking of that well, like JDM mentioned, Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid.
It does have, in effect, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. So to be fair, it does work on some of the Konami games, enough for people to kind of try to spread the myth that Konami does integrate that code everywhere. I think I even remember the Konami code working on a Google page one time. If I could be wrong on that one. Yeah. I mean, there was a day you know how Google does logo changes almost every day.
True.
And they celebrate certain things. And if you put in the Konami code on the Google page, if you put in the Konami code one day on a page, a special day, it did like fireworks, I think, or something like that on the Google page. So it was a funny little thing. So that's one of the coolest things about the Konami code. It's real enough to cause mythology. There you go.
Love it.
And then this is where you will find this funny. You mentioned Contra. In everyone's minds, the Konami code began in Contra, and it's very much true. However, in Contra's Japanese version, it doesn't.
Damon Fox 99 and Twitch did say Twin B.
Twin B.
Did it work on Twin B? If I remember, my memory's a little fuzzy on that one.
I haven't tried it on Twin B.
One of our streamers, Derek Ponay of Retro Gaming Times, would probably be able to give us a heads up on whether or not the Konami code works on Twin B. I could be wrong on that one. We'll have to find out from our streamer Derek Ponay of Retro Gaming Times. That's the nice thing about us here in Pinoy Retro Gaming. We might not all play the same retro games, but about the body of knowledge that we have in terms of of crazy stuff is vast. So
That's actually great content that you can do, right? If you
yeah, that's
can
true.
True.
do like a 5-minute video to try the Konami code on
Konami code
every
on
game.
every
That is
Konami.
true. That is very cool. That's a cool idea,
Oh, I'm
JDM.
here. I'm playing this game, and let's try it. We can do the Konami code.
Konami
Oh, I
code
just died. Okay.
on each Konami game.
There you go. Oh, so
So,
there's somebody's joining us right now. Joe RPG. There you
hey,
go. After coming on to you from Australia. Which part of
Australia.
Australia again, Joe?
I don't know.
and
Somewhere
I
down under.
Somewhere down under. He's a man. He's the man from down under, as the men without hats would sing. There you go.
and I believe it's already 12 midnight there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's
Almost.
true. Is it? Oh my
Mm.
goodness. Okay.
It is, so it is
Mm.
already my birthday in Australia.
Happy
Happy
birthday!
birthday, Sir Pao.
Yay.
Very cool. Very cool. Nice.
Okay,
We,
so
we,
I will.
we should all take a drink to that one. There you go. Happy
Sure.
birthday, Sir Pao. There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Yes,
Cheers.
it's about.
Cheers.
Mm-mm. All right. Continue, Sir Pao. Continue.
So to continue, it's just disappointing that Contra was the origin of that code, but it does not work on its Japanese version,
Mm.
and it does not work on on the English version of its sequel, the Super C or Super Contra as we know it. But
Mm.
instead, as they mentioned, it has a different code for Super C, and it only gives you 10 lives.
Mhm.
Which is
10,
bullshit.
To
10
be
lives for a
fair,
game that's
yeah, to be fair,
Which is
these
bullshit.
the Konami code in particular, and a lot of the cheat codes in early video games are there for the developers' purpose. They usually put them in so that they could test the games, uh, so that they won't be constrained by the same constraints that they impose on the player. So,
Mhm.
God mode on Doom, IDDQD, so that you don't get fragged all the time, and you can test the game all the way to the very end. Konami code so that you can test the game all the way to the very end from beginning to end, so that you have 30 lives instead of 3, which was kind of brutal, as a default number. Yes,
Yeah.
Joe, go ahead.
Speaking of Contra code and the Konami code, I'm not
Mm,
sure which Contra this is. Correct me if I'm wrong, with the panel and to you guys watching right now.
mm,
Is it 30 lives or 50 lives?
30.
30.
Mm, yeah,
Because I remember 50 lives, or this is just a Mandela effect. I
it's a
remember
Mandela
doing
effect, I'm
50
sure.
lives
It's the fact
Super
that
C.
you just came from the different dimension, Joe, and that you're entering our dimension right now. That
No,
you're
no,
remembering 50
no,
lives
I
from now.
remember because the first Contra that I played was Super C. That's the
Mhm.
first Contra that I knew.
Ah,
And
okay,
with the
okay.
Konami code, it's always been 50 lives. And
Mm.
then when the first Contra, when I played the first Contra, my surprise it was only 30.
Mhm.
Mm.
So to all of you guys down there, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it just 30 or 50 Super C? I'm not sure if it's the Japanese version or the US version. Or
The,
well, this is the Philippines, so most likely the Chinese knockoff version.
Well,
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
I'd say
hey,
the knockoff.
yeah,
I'd say the
I see the
knockoff.
knockoff.
my money's on the knockoff, because
Yes.
of those cartridges that did list out 9999 in one games. I wouldn't be
Uh-huh.
surprised if that was one of them, Joe.
The the
Right?
Jap yeah, the Japanese of Super C, the Super Contra, however,
Mm.
the Konami code works and it's 30.
Oh, well, there
Your
you
Jeff
go.
says 60.
60.
Been higher.
That's the
Yep, so
Chinese
value
one.
of Tito Popoy Gaming. If you guys want cool retro gaming content, Tito Popoy Gaming, Jeff Sardalia helms that one. All right, there you
I
Well,
go.
think the reason
although
they
as far as the Konami code goes, in Yu-Gi-Oh Tag Force, you can use the up down down left left or left right Konami
Mm.
code, and it will give you an extra deck, a bonus booster deck. No,
Oh,
not deck,
Card.
booster cards.
Card.
Yeah, there you go.
Card. I see.
JDM had something to say. Go ahead, JDM.
Yeah, about the Konami code on the Contra game, I think the reason why they gave just 10 codes, I mean 10 lives for the Konami code in the
Super C.
succeeding game is to for the because it made the first game easier than the first one. So
Mhm.
Okay, so do the code, then we'll just give you 10 lives. Die in hell, guys.
I mean, heck, that certainly does make sense. That's true. I can imagine that being true. Yes.
So to simplify what JDM said, they replaced it with a different code and they only gave us 10 lives just to F us off.
Ah, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I guess this is also one of the reasons how one of the ways how myths develop. It works on one
No, that is
game.
just because people are exploiting the cheat,
Mm.
and you guys are losers. I'm not gonna give you 30. How about just 10? Okay, I'm gonna
Oh,
throw you a
but
bone
Joe,
here.
if
Just
you're running
10.
on two players though, that 30 lives is you can yank a life from your co-op player, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah, when you're stealing lives from your from
the
your
Konami, another
co-player.
Konami thing.
It's like Serdan's, like the coins in the arcade.
Oh yeah.
They try to steal the lives.
Mm.
Oh, you just wasted my the coins.
Yeah, that's true.
It's mine. It was mine.
All right. Well, back to you, Sir Pao. Continue. Continue.
Now what's really making this code a myth is that they there are rumors that this code also works on games outside Konami. And one of them is I had to try it personally if it's real.
Mm.
And that game was the Atari's version of Tetris, or the one made by Tengen.
Oh, okay. Did it?
Yeah. So they said that if you start a game and you don't find the piece that's about to fall unlikable, say for example, squiggly or reverse squiggly, pause the game, enter the code, and your piece will automatically change into a line piece.
Really?
The most lovable line piece in
Oh yeah,
Tetris.
yeah. Basically, I call it the Tetris piece because it's the one that makes the Tetris. Tetris being the
Mhm.
you clear out four lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the bummer about this, it only works once in a game. So you cannot do it
Ah,
over and
you can't
over.
spam it then. Okay.
Yes,
Mm.
you cannot spam it.
Okay.
And another one would be a game in Sony PlayStation, Crash Bandicoot 3. And if you enter the code minus the BA, since there's no BA in a PlayStation controller, but instead you'll press the square as your last button, uh, a demo version of Spyro the Dragon will appear for you to play or for you to
Hmm.
try.
Well, there you
Ho-
go.
However, for those two games, I have proven them true. I am not sure if there are other games wherein they say try the Konami code here in this non-Konami game and maybe it will work for you.
Hmm.
So if ever there are any of you who were able to find that out, feel free to share it with us.
Wow. It's
If
all.
I put the Konami code on Street of Rage 2, you will be able to see Blaze in her bra and panties.
Now that's a
If,
myth.
o- if only.
Now that would be a myth if only.
You in the beach scene. Only in the beach scene, of course.
All right, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Here in Timeless Gamer is the birth of a brand new myth, gaming legend, started by
Yes.
Mr. Joe RPG. There you go.
If you do the Konami code
In Streets of
on
Rage 2.
stage 6, the beach scene on Streets of Rage 2, if you do it right on the right time, you will see Blaze on her brown panties strolling around the beach stage, which is stage what? Stage 6. Streets of
Mm.
Rage
Oh,
2.
I think
and
like
I
we're
don't know
being
where I heard
physical
that.
to a different dimension.
and
I
and
think I
now
heard
some
that from Sir Dan in a dream. I was dreaming
and,
at the time.
And now somebody out there who's watching us right now will try that on Streets of Rage 2.
Where's my
Call me
cartridge
after the
of Street
show.
of Rage?
Now to proceed, what the one last thing in the 8-bit era, this has got to be one of the most satisfying thing if it's actually true, because for us who have already played Duck Hunt before on the NES, if ever we miss the duck, that damn dog will just laugh at us. And every time that dog laughs at us, we just want to shoot that dog. And then a
Oh yeah.
myth came out that we can actually shoot that dog.
Well, I know my blood pressure used to shoot up whenever that dog would laugh at me. So, well, yeah, it's one of those. I'm not sure if we can actually. This is one of those things that people made into a myth because it was wishful thinking. You
Yes.
really wanted it to be true. You really wanted to be able to actually shoot the dog once it started laughing at you, because when you were a kid, you were let's just face it, your motor skills weren't as developed as they were during your teenage years, and whenever you'd miss and you'd get laughed at by the dog, it would make you angry. And I guess, kids in the playground used to start the rumor that, hey, you actually can shoot the dog. But to mention though, I mean, during the day of the Flash games era, somebody did program a game of Duck Hunt where you actually can shoot the dog. So it's R.I.P.
It
Flash.
exists.
Yeah, it exists. It does
It
exist.
exists.
So somebody made that myth a reality.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I believe you can control the ducks, right? Controller too.
Yes, controller
Yeah.
2 controls the
The
ducks.
yeah, the second controller, if it's plugged,
Hmm.
you can cheat your
Which I
way
never
by
knew that you can do that. I never knew that.
Yeah, I
Neither
think
did
it was
I.
it has
13
since
years
been
after, I
discovered
never knew that.
recently.
so
Or it
Duck
could be
Hunt
a
was actually a multiplayer game.
mm,
oh
or
yeah.
or yeah, the second player could be an absolute dick and move the ducks away from your gunshots whenever you try
You're
for
not
it.
gonna shoot my duck today.
Yeah.
Then shoot player
Yeah.
two.
Yeah, exactly. Turn your gun
Don't
sideways towards the other
shoot
guy.
player two.
Shoot layer 2 with what? The light gun or
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I'll pistol whip the guy.
are we specific with what kind of gun are we gonna shoot the second player?
Oh,
So I,
Ray Q actually says at the arcade version of Duck Hunt, you can shoot the dog. I did not know that. We'll have to verify that. That is a rumor that we'll have to check if it's absolute, if it's true. Then Ray Q,
yeah.
that's an allegation that somebody is going to have to go into the arcade. Then you are our regular resident arcade master. You visit arcades regularly. We assign you that job of looking for a Duck Hunt machine and trying out whether you can shoot the dog in the
If
arcade
I
version of Duck Hunt.
if I see one, I will gladly do that. I've never, something, I've never seen a Duck Hunt arcade machine.
Well,
Never
I've
seen
never seen one.
No,
it
no,
might be
no.
like one of those Nintendo special setups where actually sometimes Nintendo does put up arcade cabinets that they have Japanese Famicom / NES cartridges there
Mhm.
to
Right.
play. So
So
it might be
there
one of those. It might be one of those. You never know. The rumor again that we are starting off here in Timeless Gamer, according to RayQ.
and this is the first time that I actually heard that there's an arcade version of Duck Hunt.
Well, yeah, again, the Nintendo does put certain games in the arcades. Nintendo actually is a pretty big presence in the arcades. Aside from Sega, Nintendo, Capcom, a lot
I
of
see.
these gaming companies do put their games on as arcade versions. Like recently, Juan de Manos actually saw me play Legend of Kage. I always thought that was just a purely Japanese Famicom game. It turns out that it's based on an arcade game, and it was much more brutal. as the arcade
Yeah.
version was than
Yes.
the Nintendo Famicom / NES version was. So.
It's just
I'm
as
pre-
hard as.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is a duck hunt an arcade. I have heard that there's a duck hunt in arcade. I've just never seen one in
Yeah,
arcade.
if you run across one, we assign you that job, Dan, to double
Right, I'm
check
on it.
whether or not we can shoot the dog.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
Oh yeah, just make sure PETA will not see you shoot the dog.
Oh, there you go.
Not in real life.
I
at
mean,
least.
Oh,
PETA is bonkers. They come up to a fisherman who's sitting around in the dock doing fishing, and they say, "Release
Mhm.
that fish. That fish has feelings." Are you insane? This is my dinner. There you go. Continue. Sorry about that, Sir Pao. Sorry for that
It-
tangent.
it's okay. I just realized about that PETA thing because, as we all know, Nintendo was intended to be family games.
Oh yeah, that's true. Mhm.
Which leads us to the 16-bit era, wherein
Here we
there
go.
is also a popular rumor.
Oh, well, pardon,
on
Sir Pao.
Sure.
Q, the same guy who actually mentioned that rumor, has followed up in the chats, and he says versus
Versus
Duck Hunt
Duck
is
Hunt.
the name of the arcade version. All right, Dan, that's the title of the arcade machine that you're going to be looking for
Versus Duck Hunt?
over there in the
Oh,
UK. Versus Duck
oh,
Hunt.
oh yeah, every NES game with the letters versus at the beginning are
Mhm.
considered arcade ports of NES games.
Oh well, there you go. That's it.
Well,
So,
Because
there
you're
we go.
actually fighting the arcade.
I guess you're
Yeah,
fighting with
It's
your
you against the
co-player.
machine. Something
Yeah,
like that.
it is you against the machine.
Yes, or
Yes,
just
maybe we
JDM.
can maybe we can go to New Mexico and find arcade the arcade machine.
I mean, heck,
Maybe it's buried
if,
under there.
which kind of leads into
Included as well.
another gaming myth. Who knows? Maybe Polybius is down there. But anyway, we'll get to
Let's
that
go.
one as Sir Pump proceeds with this topic. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
16-bit.
So as mentioned, it, we head to the 16-bit era with
Mhm.
a game that was limited by the so-called family games in Nintendo, Mortal Kombat. Although it's not just in the SNES, but this rumor happens to be mentioned as existing also in its arcade version and probably in other versions. Yet none of these versions were proven. None of these versions were proven true, or at least hacks or certain modifications on the system has tried to made it true. But the rumor says like this: a red ninja is a playable character in Mortal Kombat.
Ermac?
Yeah, in Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh, it's
The
Ermac.
o-
I think Mortal Kombat is one of the games, which had at the time. I mean, if I think you younger chaps might not remember it, but definitely for me, there were so many rumors surrounding what could happen and couldn't happen, and that's obviously the biggest one, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm.
And as mentioned by one of our viewers here in Facebook, the rumor is called the error macro. And
Ariel Bianes says the error macro. Oh,
It's
okay.
Ermac, yeah.
and that's where the name Ermac came from, which has been playable in the third Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. In fact, I'm gonna throw another in there, chaps. Actually, if you
Go
don't
ahead.
mind me doing so. In the UK,
Mhm.
we had a big gaming magazine called Mean Machines, and that split into two magazines, and that became a Nintendo magazine system. It was called. Okay, and they started a rumor because the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat didn't include any gore.
Mhm.
You could get gore. If you put the right cheat in, you could get a gore
Blood
mode.
code, yeah.
Now, it was an April Fool's. It was an April Fool's, and the way they said that you could do it was that you had to tape a 1 pence piece to the top of your cartridge, and then input a code as well. So, and the reasoning to them, I mean, we're obviously all bullshit, but the reasoning to them was that the certain cartridges in Japan that only had this code, and then they were pulled. So you had to get your Super Nintendo to feel the extra weight of these original cartridges. So that's why you put the 1p. Yeah, and this rumor went round the UK. Like, you know, all us kids were trying it. You know, we're like, oh man, we're not putting code in right, or do we need a different type of 1p? Is it clean? Is 1p clean enough?
And then you'd get all those kids who'd say that it actually worked, and you know, if you called them out on it, you know, go ahead, prove it. They would never be able to do it.
Exactly. Do these? You know, did I ever show you said it's a 1p and not a 2p? And it drove us kids nuts because we were trying from all angles to try to get it to work, and it just didn't work. In fact, bear me a second, I'll get the original April Fool's single. I don't know if you can share that, Ray. But I've got a copy of the magazine that puts the code in. I don't know if is Ray not able. No.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
So if you look at that, let me get that. Oh, where is it? It's that one, isn't it? Sorry, it's this one. So if I zoom in on that, it says it. First, it's important to note that the cheat can only work on L-Lab cartridges series 001. These are the early carts using slightly heavier plastic casing, so the cheat may not work on your cartridge. However, there is a way around the problem. If your cheat doesn't work, tape a 1p piece to the top of the cart to fool the Super Nintendo with the extra weight. And,
Imagine.
And it even says here, according to the Super NES Mortal Kombat's lead programmer, Rolf Apillo. Rolf Apillo is obviously an anagram of April Fools.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that is funny. Something that
A
really
1p piece?
a 1 pence piece. Yes. The funny
And
thing
how heavy is that? I mean,
no,
how will that make any difference?
Very, very light.
Yeah, probably about as heavy as a 10 centavo coin. I wouldn't be surprised.
Let me see if I've got one. I don't know. I don't think I've got one.
The funniest thing is it presupposes that the Super NES had the capacity to detect weights, slight differences in weights.
Exactly.
There it is. That's it.
There it is.
And then, you know what I mean? That's so tiny.
A quick question though, since we're talking about cartridges.
And our share screen
Regarding with
just
the
showed us
NES,
earlier.
and regarding with the NES, Mega Drive, and the Super NES, and correct me if I'm wrong, the panel and to you guys watching right now, does blowing on the pins under the cartridges make any difference at all to make it work?
No.
Like
my head says no, my heart says yes.
Love it, mate. Love it.
Like blowing
like
under
a
the cartridges.
placebo
We all did that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Everyone grew up with that.
The common knowledge is that if you blow on it, then maybe some of your spit might actually
It's more of
loosen up the
blowing.
pins, and you know your
It's more
cartridges
blowing the
might
dust
work
away,
on your
you
system.
know. Because that's one thing. The Philippines is a very dusty environment because of the fact that a lot of our residences are close to highways or close to roads. So in the Philippines, a lot of the time dust was all over the house, and something about dust settling everywhere kind of made the illogical connection in your head that maybe there's dust on the pins of the cartridge, and if you blow on it, it'll clear the dust and it'll make the cartridge work a little bit better.
I want to hear it from Sir Dan, though.
Okay.
It's never worked for me. Never worked for me.
Never did.
Yeah, again, like I said, my head says no, my heart will always say yes. Yes.
Have you ever did that, Sir Dan, with your carts?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, as a kid, all the time. If it weren't working, push it in and out, push it in and out. Never worked. Never made any difference.
Mhm.
As what Revolver Ocelot told in the Metal Gear Solid games, it
Mm.
gives no tactical advantage whatsoever.
Yeah, it gives no tactical advantage, but it does give you the psychological edge,
Yeah.
right? JDM,
True.
right?
Okay, the plus I give the placebo effect.
There you go, the placebo effect. That's very true. It's very true. Sometimes the placebo effect is very effective. Enrique nailed it. Absolutely nailed it with his comment right there.
Blowing
Blowing
always
always
makes things
makes
better.
things
So,
better.
so
Yes, I
do the
completely agree
job.
with that statement.
Always blow.
Yes, agreed. Completely agreed.
And there
Do
goes.
the
Sorry,
job.
as
Always blow.
Nigel Nang of Uncle Roger would say, sorry, children. Okay, anyway,
Wait,
continue.
there's an exemption to the rule about blowing.
Oh, sige. Raymond has an
Okay?
exemption. Go ahead, Raymond.
Blowing is for girls, not boys.
Oh, there you go.
Now that's a game. Oh, now that's a gaming myth right there.
Ano, Dan had
Okay?
his hand raised for a moment there. What was
No,
that, Dan?
I rest my case.
I'm just telling it. I'm just saying. I'm saying. Whoa. We might be touching on something a bit.
I
dodgy
know.
there,
Again,
Colin.
sorry, children. Anyway, that's Ray's stance, and we respect him for it. Other people might disagree, but in general, blowing always makes things better. There you go.
Gender equality. Okay.
There
We're
you
a
go.
family-oriented
Yes, we are very
podcast,
family
guys.
oriented. Sorry, children.
So
Back
let's
back to
let's edit
general.
it.
Yes, back to G rating. Back to G rating.
Back to
Continue.
Just to remind screenshot earlier, it was shown to us a text called error macros,
Yes.
and probably by modifying that error macros, the red ninja will be playable in the first Mortal Kombat
Mm.
as rumored. However, the only time that the red ninja became playable was already in the third Mortal Kombat game, or I think it's Ultimate Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I guess it's an example of developers making the myths into reality in subsequent games. Lots of developers do that. Rumors pop up. Word gets around. This game might be more improved because of this.
Mhm.
Hey, wouldn't it be fun if we had that?
Yes.
Subsequent games wouldn't have those things. So I guess
The
this
Air
is a perfect
Max.
example of it. Of Ermac being a rumor
Uh,
becoming reality. Mhm.
yeah.
Due to persistent public demand. We
Due to
want
persistent
Ermac
public demand. There you go.
on a
Yeah, very
Mortal
good.
Kombat game.
Very
Well,
true,
at,
JDM.
well, at least in the Mortal Kombat franchise, it happened. However, in another gaming franchise, which makes us going to move on to the Capcom Play System 2 or CPS 2,
Mm.
this public demand has never manifested. Even though by public demand, it never existed because it has also been busted, and and Capcom never made it through for us gamers. However, people still want to believe that Shenlong is playable in Street Fighter 2, as always mentioned by Ryu every time Ryu wins a fight in
Yeah.
Street Fighter.
This
You must
this,
always defeat Shenlong to stand a chance.
this were massive. This was absolutely massive. And as kids, I spent years trying to different ways to make this happen. In the arcade, on the Mega Drive, on the Super Nintendo, and the biggest rumor was that you had to put it on the hardest setting
Mhm.
and get every round perfect
Mhm.
to get him to appear. And when I finally did it and he didn't appear, I nearly threw me system out the window. I was like,
How
no, you know what I mean? Because it were a everybody said this was a genuine thing. If you get every round perfect on your hardest setting, you will get to play as Shenlong, and no, never happened.
How disappointing. all of your effort for nothing.
I know, mate. I know all them repetitive fights over and over, but it's a great game. It's a great game. So, so I enjoyed doing it. But it were, I think out of all the rumors so far, this is the one that saw most people that I knew in the UK actually buy into it and actually action trying to make it happen without a doubt.
True. How about the others? What do you think about this Shenlong thing?
So your
Uh,
DM.
This is just Ryu trying to yank our chain back in 1992.
oh, and
I
Oh,
actually I haven't discovered about this rumor like when back then because I haven't played any arcade games. I think until 1994, so it was very late. I just discovered the myth maybe early 2000s.
mhm,
So I I haven't read any magazines. I haven't um, been playing arcade games that much. So I think it was just there to um, like I said earlier, it was just a marketing strategy for um, people or developers to play the games,
mhm.
and some people who are just like um, trying to pull anyone people into playing the games the best they could, so they could get um, very good at these games. Um,
Yeah,
that's what I think.
probably.
the way I understand this Street Fighter 2 Shenlong rumor, the way I understand it, on the original Japanese text, never really mentioned Shenlong by
Mhm,
word. It was just a mistranslation into English, and then for some reason they came up with Shenlong.
Well,
During the Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine, of course, 1992 April, the
mhm,
April issue, 1992, they showed that image of Ryu fighting someone who almost resembles him, long white hair, right? And the name right there says Shenlong.
mhm.
It was actually an April Fool's joke from EGM, of course, but they still and this was the time when people are just wanting it so bad that they still wished it to be true,
Mhm.
and it was all bullshit, to say the least. And
Oopsie.
the closest one that you can actually, the closest one that you can probably think of that might resemble something like this is X-Men: Children of the Atom.
Mhm.
While you can secretly summon Akuma. Oh well, Goki.
Oh yeah.
Like
Which it.
still on a Capcom, it's still a Capcom game
Uh huh. So yeah.
and somewhat related to Ryu, to say the least.
Yeah.
And it's
True.
actually a secret character that you can pull off a convoluted combination of convoluted methods of making him show up during the character selection screen. At
Yeah.
least he's there. Here, no, it's just bogus.
I
Oh.
think Dan had a little bit of input here. Dan, you were about to say something a little earlier.
well, no, I'm going to ask Sir Joe. So the April Fools. When do you know what year that was? Which April?
92.
Right. Okay. Because Street Fighter were obviously released in '91, and
Mhm.
so this April Fool. See, it seems to me like it was obviously born out of these rumors because
Right.
we just saw the Ryu say on on his win screen, you must defeat Shenlong to stand a chance.
Hmm.
Well, we associated that as kids with Wu Shenlong. Do you know what I mean? Who is this guy? Is it Ryu's master? So
Hmm.
it's like this is a great example of myths starting as Chinese whispers between children and then evolving into an April Fool and then
Pres-
evolving into
Mhm.
a proper myth.
Precisely, as Dan said, we as kids had an incredible capacity for storytelling. We were very imaginative back then. We would tell stories, and
Mhm.
as kids, our critical thinking skills weren't as well developed back then yet. So a story told by a kid
Mhm.
tended to be taken as absolute truth by another kid.
Yeah.
And it would like Dan would say, it would be Chinese whispers. One, it would develop from one end of the story to the other, and before you know it, gone into this full-blown myth. And of course, the fact that you must defeat Shang Long to stand a chance kind of makes your imagination run away with it. Like, Ryu had to had to fight against somebody and defeat this guy for
Mhm.
him to develop this immense power, his Hadouken and his Cyclone kick. That would fire up your imagination. He must have trained to fight this guy for him to be able to become this good. So whoever that Shang Long was must have been an amazing fighter before. So
We we
that's
we, we thought it was an extra boss. We thought it was gonna appear as after
Yeah.
if you beat the game perfect every round on the hardest level and then beat M Bison, we were expecting another boss to appear then.
Yeah.
Hey, Ariel, sorry, sidebar here. Ariel Bianes on the chat says, Ayan, a really funny side myth, the pronunciation of Ryu. How did it not end up standardized? Some people pronounce it as Ryu while others Ryu. Well, in my
Ah,
case, I would say you don't pronounce Ryu's signature move as Shoryuken. You call it
eh,
Shoryuken or Ryu. So
true.
how I would point to it. Like Ryu is pronounced as Ryu. And of course, the Japanese would call it Ryu. And I don't think I've heard a Japanese person pronounce it as Ryu. I could be wrong on that one, but that's my personal take on it.
I think
I,
Ryu's an English.
Yeah, an
I
anglicized.
anglicized one. Yeah, the Y you just see as a that's how it sounds. I so we that's how we used to call it as kids Ryu. That's what we used to call it.
That's it.
Well,
I,
to answer your question, it's an English thing.
It's an English thing. It's true. It's true. It's anglicized thing, tended to how they say Joel instead of Joel. I guess.
Yeah.
well, well, my childhood began with the wrong pronunciation until I heard it in that 1994 movie,
Mm,
and and in the games were
They say
in
it Ryu, actually.
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
Mm.
and in the games where the announcer actually pronounced the name of the fighter
Wow.
when you choose them. So it has
Mm,
been so those things made me correct my pronunciation of it. Although in a movie released in 2006 or 2005, if I can remember that correctly, Robin Shu, whom we know
oh.
played Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 1995,
Mm.
played as Gen in Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li on that movie, and
So weird, that movie.
He mispronounced Ryu's name there.
Mm.
He pronounced it as Ryu.
Okay. Well. Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess that's another thing that we can chalk up as uh, a point of contention between gamers and will until Capcom. I'm not sure if Capcom has released an official statement on it. We'll see. Well, I will have to dig more. We'll have to do a little bit more research on it. But then again,
And I
continue, Sir Pao.
and I agree, Sir Ariel. That movie is so bad. It's not really that much accurate. Well,
No,
except for Chun-Li's moves.
no, no.
Except except for Chun-Li's moves, I would go with the spinning bird kick.
I
You
mean,
know,
that's Jaw's favorite move. That's Jaw's favorite move in fighting games, anyway.
My
Chun-
favorite move would be
All right, G-rated.
Do you want me to
G-rated.
answer? Hmm.
We'll have to change our rating for today.
My favorite
Here comes
move will
Raymond. Here comes
be
Raymond.
Ako ang iyong konsensya. Tigilan mo yan.
Raymond says he's the
it's
conscience.
from
Okay.
Cammy. Okay,
He
it's
pops
from
in
Cammy.
every
That's all I can say. It's from
There
Cammy.
you go. Okay. Joe's favorite move is from Cammy. And Raymond pops in and says, "Eye of
oh,
your
your
conscience. Be careful
conscience
of what you're
Mm.
about to say."
We're a family-oriented
oriented.
podcast.
We're a family-oriented show, guys.
Ayan.
All right, fine. Raymond, the conscience of timeless gamer. He is now our
Conscience.
guiding light, our conscience. There you go.
Well, well, to cap up with that Street Fighter 2 thing, yeah, the myth is already busted as popularly known, but people are still hoping that it's true. And I think a few years before, somebody ROM hacked a Street Fighter 2 with Shenlong as a playable character, doing seemingly humanly impossible moves, especially the cyclone kick, wherein instead of the normal cyclone kick, Shenlong is doing the cyclone kick upside down, which
Like
Oh, there
is
you go.
Lection Lee.
much like the spinning bird kick.
Lection Lee.
Yeah, but then as much as we want, as much as we still hope to see a true Shenlong in a Street
Oh
Fighter,
yeah.
it
You must
will,
defeat Isaac Newton to stand a chance.
yeah, you must must
The,
You
defeat
the,
must
the,
defy
the
the
gravity.
law,
gravity.
yeah, you must defeat the laws of physics. Okay.
Now going to the now let's move on to handhelds.
Hmm.
And even handhelds have been a nest of gaming myths, especially
Hmm.
the one that we're showing right now, the first Pokemon games on the Game Boy. And the most popular myth about that
The
is,
Vermilion City truck. Okay.
yeah, it's the 151st Pokemon hidden
Hmm.
under a truck. The
Hmm.
151st Pokemon known as Mew, the psychic type one that seems to be equally powerful with Mewtwo. And as they say, in order for you to get him or challenge him or much more capture that Pokemon, you must look under that truck, specific under that specific spot right over there as our screen is showing.
Hmm.
So for most gamers, they tell that it's true because they've tried it and and it did,
Hmm.
and it did happen. For
Yeah, I mean
some,
about that. What was the story? I mean, how that rumor started. I mean,
probably because Mew is considered as one of, probably because, well, it's considered a special Pokemon that's still included in the first generation of Pokemons, the the first generation of 151 Pokemons.
I mean it's so random. Just look under a truck.
Yeah, that's just the puzzling thing about it, that you can find it under a truck. It's hiding
What
under
the hell
there.
is he doing under a truck?
Yeah, for who knows what is Mew doing there? What's a Pokeball doing under a truck as well?
Well, I have a theory on this one. It's probably because of the fact that Pokemon is a seriously competitive game in terms of you're challenging yourself to try to
Mhm.
find all of those Pokemon,
Hmm.
150 if I remember correctly. And uh, the fact that you want to bragging rights for you to be able to say
Bragging
I
rights.
caught them all,
Yeah,
even the
yeah.
one
Yeah.
that's it's supposed to be impossible to catch, which is Mew. So you'd
I
go
would
strong into
believe
the
if Mew was a roadkill under the truck's wheel. Maybe.
Mhm.
Mm.
I would imagine a kid, 5 years old, 6 years old, having played the game and wants bragging rights, strolling into the playground saying, "Hey, I caught them all and the
And
special one."
special
And of
ones.
course, all the
Yeah.
kids would get, "Whoa, really? Where?" And of course, the kid who started bragging about that would probably have to make something up on the spot and say, "I caught him. You know that crunk in the middle of nowhere? I found him there." So that would spread the rumor, and all the kids would say, really, I have to go there and try it out. And
Mhm.
yeah, I guess it's one of those things that would really be attributed to kids yanking each other's chains, shall we
Yeah.
say. It's my personal theory anyway.
To be honest, I actually learned this right like when I saw the outline for this episode. I
Mm,
didn't know about this rumor, but
mm,
what I know from the old Pokemon games was the um like a theory about Gary's Raticate, because
Oh,
there
Raticate.
was a part in the game where there's a town called Lavender. It's
Mhm.
called Lavender Town.
Lavender Town.
It's
Yeah.
as it's a town with um, it was a graveyard. I think it's
It's a
like a
graveyard,
sanctuary.
yes.
Yeah, it's a sanctuary for dead Pokemon.
That Pokemon.
And during that time,
Undead
when you
Pokemon, not
first
dead
enter
Pokemon.
the when you
Dead
first
Pokemon.
come in the graveyard, you encounter Gary Oak, but you will notice that one of his Pokemon was missing, which was Raticate, because prior to going to Lavender Town, you always
Mm.
encounter him, and he has this Ratata in his party. Then it becomes Raticate at some point. Then all of a sudden, after you meet him the in
Pokemon
the
League.
graveyard in Lavender Town,
Yeah.
suddenly Raticate is not in the party anymore. So there are fan theories that maybe Gary buried Raticate there, or maybe he was paying respects because maybe he died earlier in the game.
Ooh.
So that's it. And also,
Also
the
been
music of
roadkill
the
under the
Lavender
same track.
maybe it by the same
Poss-
truck
Possibly.
where
He was. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say roadkill? He's been isekai'd by the
There
same
you go.
truck.
I was gonna say that.
There you
Oh,
He
go.
was isekai. For those of you who are not in the know,
Been
a
transferred
common
to
trope
another
in
world.
Japanese anime nowadays is being sent into another world by getting run
Truck
over by a
crew.
truck. There you go.
Yeah.
and
Raticate is on
uh,
another world.
yeah.
JDM, continue.
And yeah, still, let's stay in Lavender Town. The music
sure.
there, they said that it was a creepy music. It sounds like music that you play on Halloween.
Yeah.
And there was a rumor that that music actually has a translation, which
Mm, mm,
was like a lullaby made by a Pokemon named uh,
Jigglypuff.
Hypno. No,
Ah.
not Jigglypuff. Hypno, a psychic Pokemon called Hypno,
Hypno.
Oh,
who has
Hypno.
this like pendulum
Yeah. Yeah.
Hypnosis
That.
to
pendulum.
hypnotize. It was a lullaby to make kids sleep, or I, or some people say that it was like it puts children into trance, like the
Yeah.
story of the Pied Piper,
mm,
when the
Oh,
people like they needed the help with the plague, so they tried to ask the Pied Piper to get rid of the rodents, the rats. Then when he came back, he asked for
payment.
yeah, payment. Then the people like, no, we don't have anything to pay. It's like just the gratitude that
Mm.
they
Mm,
like thanking him. It was enough. So he did the same thing to their children, and the children followed
mm,
and uh,
nice.
took him, isekai them to a different dimension.
yes.
So it,
Okay.
I think it was a homage for the Pied Piper, the story of the
Oh,
Pied
it
Piper,
all went back
and
full circle to rats. Raticate.
yeah,
Mm.
and yeah, uh,
No, no, no.
actually
I
that's
heard. I
right.
mean, I
Like,
heard the. I heard the story different though.
Mm.
It's not about them putting them in a trance, but it's also one of those stories that it kind of put them into seizures. That
Oh.
weird
Mm.
music from Lavender Town.
Which
Only in the
actually,
Japanese version though.
Oh.
although the I guess it's one of those little things that morphs in from truth into mythology already. The fact that I'm not a Pokemon expert by any means. Actually, like I said,
Mhm.
the missus and my daughter are the Pokemon fanatics, and my mission for them is to make me a team of six Pokemon, level 99 Magikarps and level
Metapods.
99 Metapods. So with nothing but tackles. So that's my special goal for them. But it's one of those myths that kind of morphed in realities that morphed into myths. The Pokemon episode of Porygon had the
Mhm.
strobing light effect that
Mm.
made kids go into seizures.
Oh.
So certain kids with a propensity for epileptic seizures actually were sent to the hospital because of that particular episode. So that kind of made, I guess, morphed into the myth that the Lavender Town, was that right, JDM, had
Yes. Yeah.
the music that caused kids to fall asleep. So I guess it was kind of based on the reality that some kids experienced epileptic seizures and were sent into the hospital. That kind of morphed into, if you hear this music in Pokemon, it'll make you fall asleep. So kind of how
Maybe
myths
it's
happen
just
too.
the developers
Mm,
telling the kids to
mm,
take a break from playing the game
mm,
from a very long time, because I think
mm,
Lavender Town is like halfway into the game already. So if you're
Mhm.
playing from uh,
From the beginning.
from the
mm,
beginning, then it
mm,
took you like 2 hours or 3 hours in the game. They
mm.
play this music so you can, it could induce sleeping, and kids will feel drowsy and like save the game, turn off the game, and try to sleep. Maybe something like that.
That might actually be true too.
Mhm.
And the Lonely Nixie with creepy pasta
That's
myths
the
that
myths.
we're going to be carrying over into the
And
weird, the
s-
strange, the unusual, and the
and six
unexplained
to four.
portions. Then, all right.
Yes. And speaking of unexplained and unusual,
Mm,
well, so from that in Pokemon, maybe I'll try going to Lavender Town and see if I'll fall asleep. Although
mm.
if, although even if I play other versions, I fell asleep like
Yep.
after an hour.
Yeah.
Well, I know Dan is not a Pokemon guy. I know
Pokemon sends me to sleep, mate. Don't
yeah. There
worry.
you go.
Any Pokemon game makes me sleep,
Oh, there you go. That's it.
Yeah.
It's
except for Misty though. I love you,
Yeah.
Mm.
Misty.
I mean, props to Pokemon players. We salute how dedicated you are to your game and to your anime and to your merchandise. We absolutely respect that. But there are certain gamers like me, like Dan, like Joe, who might not necessarily be as passionate about your hobby as
I'm
you are.
passionate about Misty though.
Oh. Mhm.
Well, there you go. We have exceptions. Okay,
Oh,
continue, Sir Pao.
yeah. And since Lowly Nixie over here from Twitch already mentioned Zelda Ocarina of Time, and
Mm,
Tito
Mm.
Joel saying unusual, say,
mm,
well, we're heading for this very unusual console to us since, well, almost none of us had Nintendo 64. I did had one before, but I never had these games where there are a lot of popular bits, starting with The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Nope, I haven't
mm,
played it before. The
Mm.
only person I know who played it was our King of Zelda in PRG, Tito
mm.
Popoy.
Ah,
I played it.
you played
Oh,
it.
you
There you
played
Oh, I've
it.
go.
got, yeah. I might have mentioned before that the N64 is my least favorite console that I've ever bought, and um, yeah, Ocarina of Time was.
Yes.
I set the entire of Christmas 1998 aside
Mhm.
to play it, and I was
Mm.
so disappointed in it. So disappointed in it.
Dan
So,
Dan has a certain tendency to be disappointed in games that are overhyped. That's
Yeah,
it.
like yourself, Sir Joel, I'm
Mm.
somebody who I think I appreciate the underdog more, and if a game's overhyped,
Mm.
I expect more from it if it's overhyped. Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
true.
It's one of the things that you go in. I guess the expectations are built up, and the letdown is farther. The higher the expectations are.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
Since Dan had already played this before, it's perfect that we ask the first question to you.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And that question is, were you able to equip the Triforce?
Mate, that was a myth and a rumor I'd never even heard of, to be honest, mate. I don't remember that much about Ocarina of Time because it was that bland that nothing stuck with me. All I remember were collecting. I can't remember what they're called. Is it Okus or Dookus or something? They were like spider things that you had to collect.
Yes.
And there were a few myths around them when you collected so many. So maybe that myth, the Triforce myth, was in there, but no, I just that one bypassed me. That one, mate, that one bypassed me.
And then the second question would be, have you reached the Sky Temple after hours of game?
No. I've got to be honest as well. I've got to be honest. I was just when they finished the game, I was just glad to get it over with. So even if there had been a Sky Temple, I wouldn't have tried to have got to it. I remember. I remember a lot of people talked about the Water Temple being a bad temple, and I thought it was really easy. And so again another myth. And if you read it on the internet, a lot of people say, "Oh, the Water Temple were terrible," and I remember waltzing through it like. Am I actually going to get a challenge or anything? So yeah, a lot of myths around this game, mate. A lot of myths around it.
Really quick check on the chats here on Facebook. Ariel Bianes says, "I guess not many were fans of the N64 because of the controller." That is a very reasonable.
Everything.
Yes.
Graphics, controller, games. Worst system ever.
And the funniest thing, Ray Q says this. It's so ironic that the Sega guy is the only one who has played Ocarina of Time. What? That's the thing, though. Let me correct that, Ray. I also
In my
have
defense,
played.
in our defense, Nintendo 64 sucked ass.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, here's the thing. I did start off on Ocarina of Time, both on the Nintendo 64 and on the Nintendo
Switch
DS. If I remember correctly, the 3DS Ocarina, 3DS already had Ocarina of Time. And I'm going to cause a ruckus here for our international viewers who absolutely love the Nintendo 64 and Ocarina of Time. It got boring. I'm sorry to have to say this, but it's a slog, honestly.
The only decent games for the Nintendo 64 is WCW
Okay.
and WWF No Mercy. And what's the other game, Sir JDM?
WrestleMania 2000.
No, not that one. WCW World Tour. What's the other one? Oh, Revenge. WCW Revenge and WWF No Mercy. Those were the only games that's worth playing for the N64.
Yeah. I will throw in F-Zero. F-Zero's a good
F-Zero.
game.
Okay. GoldenEye. Shit.
GoldenEye's crap. GoldenEye.
What?
So I'm glad this is a great show for it because it all goes into the myths. So number one, you've got the myths that the N64 is a good game.
It's a good machine. That is a myth in itself.
Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? You've got the myth that Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda game, which is complete bullshit. Okay. You've also got the myth that GoldenEye started, well, not started, but influenced the first person perspective genre to a massive degree. And within a week of me getting GoldenEye, I got it on release day. And I thought it was good. Back then, I thought it was good. Within a week of getting it, I got Hexen 2. And Hexen 2 destroyed it.
Oh, come on. That's not even a fair comparison. Hexen.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And then a few months later, Quake 2 come out and destroyed it even more. And it made GoldenEye look so dated and old and janky within a few weeks and months. You know what I mean? So these are all
in jank. Doom.
Okay.
All across the board.
Doom was the to me. There were FPSs out before, but Doom was the moment the FPS really landed. GoldenEye gets credited with that.
Either Doom or Wolfenstein.
Doom or Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein kind of was a big thing. I do remember it in DOS days, and it was mind blowing. Honestly, mind blowing. Castle Wolfenstein was a mind blowing first person shooter. When Doom came out, it blew everybody away, and I guess it's the fact that console gamers were so dedicated trying to find an example that will at least equal, if not surpass, first-person shooters on PCs, that they latched onto GoldenEye
Yeah.
as saying that it's the best of the best,
Yeah.
and then
So another myth with that is that people say GoldenEye
mhm,
four player. You know what I
mhm,
mean? It were four players at the same time, and
mhm,
I'll go into college and I'll playing eight of my friends on Hexen. Or sorry,
mm,
Hexen two,
yeah,
when GoldenEye released. So
mhm,
it
yeah.
is yeah. Again, more myths, mate. More myths.
Yeah, it's the fact that the console gamers during that time were hard up for stuff that will compare with PC
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
I guess.
yeah, yeah.
There you go. Sir Pao.
And well, let me throw in Yoshi's Story as one of the best for N64. It has a decent graphics, and to think it's only Yoshi and no Mario involved. As
I've
for
never tried
Golden,
that one. Hmm.
as for Golden Eye, yeah, the four-player thing is true, but the part that I don't think is true is that you can all four of you can play James Bond at the same time.
Oof, I can't remember. I can't remember. I don't think you can. I remember you had Odd Job and Jaws. So
Yes.
when me and my friends used to play it, we used to just select different ones anyway.
Goldfinger.
Yeah,
So
and I have never really played GoldenEye all that much, and all I know about it are memes, honestly. Like,
true.
you're cheating if you choose odd job, things like that.
yeah.
So let's just say that, sorry to have to say this, but
Yeah.
during that era, Sony made the right call and developed the Sony PlayStation and
Mhm.
righteously kicked Nintendo 64's ass all the way to the next galaxy. So I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but it's true. Numerically speaking, it's true. Quality wise, you can argue, but numerical,
Yeah.
the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie.
For the
True.
N64, are we going to discuss L is real
LS.
2401 or Ben Drowned?
Yeah.
Let's let the captain of the episode decide on that one.
Well, I did read about the Ben Drowned for Ocarina of Time mentioned by Lowly Nixie here,
Mm.
It's
and
already midnight here, guys. I really don't want any creepy.
Now let's get into
and
the
But
creepy
no, no,
pastas, okay?
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Creepy pastas are okay. I'm okay. Go ahead. We can discuss Ben Drowned, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a scary one. But
Mm.
then why?
That's a scary one.
Yeah. Then let's not talk about something scary and
Nah, the antidote to creepy pastas is watching Ren and Stimpy after. So, you know.
oh well there's one more in the N64, and I think
Mm.
this is not much of a big deal because it's just about Super Mario 64 where they said you can play as Luigi.
Yep. L is
Mm.
real.
Mm.
2401.
One.
Mhm. Okay.
The L is
I
real 2401, and until now it's not yet proven. And
No,
since it
I think it's been debunked. So the story was, so there's this fountain, and then there's this monument, and there are words there, and for some reason, somebody deciphered that also blurry text saying L is real
is real.
2401.
hmm.
2401, in retrospect, if you're going to convert that, that means the 2nd of April 2001.
Oh,
Oh,
So
and
it might as well have been a late April Fool's joke back when
oh,
the game
I
was
see.
first released.
I
So
see.
but even before then, the story was Luigi was supposed to be a hidden character in Super Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
They said that you need to collect um, this amount of coins, uh, go through specific levels, and then eventually you'll unlock Luigi in a secret room or something. But all of those methodologies were all bullshit. Uh,
So,
Eventually, on the I think on the DS or 3DS
mm-hmm.
re-release of Super Mario 64,
64.
Luigi was then included, but on the original game, no, he
Nah,
was never meant to be in that.
man.
You
And
know
maybe
why? Because Luigi committed suicide on
Luigi's
Luigi's
Mansion.
Mansion. That's
There
why
you
Luigi is
go.
not there. And that's another
oh
creepypasta right there for the Nintendo GameCube. But
oh
whoa.
First things
but
first, though. Let's check the chats. We have Retro Gaming Times with the hashtag RGT
RGT Raid.
Raid. There you go. Thank you very much, Derek
Hey,
Ponay.
thank
That
you
is
so
Derek
much.
Ponay
Thanks
of
for rating
Retro
us.
Gaming Times. He's in the chats right now. And
Yeah.
thank you very much to everybody who is coming in because of the hashtag RGT Raid. Retro Gaming Times viewers, welcome to the Timeless Gamer podcast. And we even have Derek Ponay in the chats right now. Retro Gaming Times.
Yay.
He says, "Good evening, PRG
Evening,
Timeless Gamer and friends." There you go. Welcome to
friends.
everybody. And thank you very much for joining us in this podcast. Well, let's continue, Sir Pao.
So it's a good smooth segue when you mentioned that Sony kicked Nintendo's backside because
And
it's
Isekai
because now
N64.
we're going there
Sorry,
with two
JDM
of
and Isekai.
because now we're going there with two of the most popular myths under
That era.
that system, being
Okay.
the first Sony PlayStation.
Mm.
And I don't know which one to start here, but maybe I should go first with the one that's rated G, which is
Let's go rated G first.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
with Final Fantasy VII, having two specific myths,
Yeah,
all
different moves.
only
One
all
and
only
two.
not that one. Yeah. So for Final Fantasy VII, they have talked about two specific myths only proven working through Game Sharks, but in an
Mm.
actual gameplay,
Yeah, I think I know that one.
they will never be possible. Number one is that you can have Sephiroth with you on your team instead of being against him
Vincent.
on certain points, as in
Mm.
Sephiroth himself. The other one is, I
Here
think,
we
one of the most impossible things to happen since it is part of the storyline and it happens to be the saddest part of FF7, which is Aerith's death. And
Spoilers.
according to myth,
Spoilers. Come on, Dan.
Spoilers.
The statute of limitations has long passed that one already.
according to myth, you can revive Aerith and make her continue through the end of the game.
Which, me
Ima-
personally, I attribute to Ney in Fantasy Star
Mhm.
2, Dan. I personally attribute that to Ney in Fantasy Star 2 because in Fantasy Star 2, the main female character, was it main female character? Your main female party member, Ney, actually dies. Sorry, spoilers. Okay, in one of the in one of the big battles, and you can use a Mundu, if I remember correctly. Then I completely forgot a revive potion on her to have her continue fighting until the end of that battle, but she
Yeah.
dies anyway. So
Yeah.
there, that's personally I attribute it to that one. I mean, it could have a
Mhm.
different. It kind of
Right.
have a different origin, but personally speaking, from I think it comes from Fantasy Star 2 on the Sega Genesis. Continue, Sir Pao.
Uh, and that reminds me of a meme scattering around
Mm.
FF7's biggest death.
Mhm.
Telling, why don't we just use Phoenix Downs on her to revive her?
Well, that's it. You know, again, it happened in Fantasy Star 2. Your female character died, and you did use a revive potion on her. She came back to life, helped you all the way to the end of the battle, but at the end of it, she dies anyway. So maybe a lot
Re-
of people kind of got it from that one. JDM,
I
you're
see.
about to say.
that that was reverse plot armor.
Reverse plot armor. Yes, that is a very
Uh,
good way of saying it. That's true. It's true. Plot
Imagine
armor.
how
Mm,
traumatized the kids back then when
mhm.
that happened
Yeah,
to
it's true. Mhm.
Aaron.
It is
But
true. It is true. Mhm.
we uh, because that's for the PS1, so most of the kids back then who played PS1 was around uh, 8, 7, 8 years old.
When did that come out,
So
Sir Pao?
Greetings.
1997.
97.
Yeah.
uh,
Okay,
97.
JDM.
and those people who have played um,
FF7.
not FF7, the FF4,
Uh-huh.
um, there were a lot of tragedy that happened back
True. That
then.
is very
I
true.
see.
I think that's the I think that's the Final Fantasy game that had a lot of um, main characters deaths. I
I, oh,
guess, yeah,
Yeah.
one of if one if not all of the Final Fantasy games.
I see.
All I can say is the kids who were traumatized and cried their eyes out when Eris died in 1997 were uh, uh, we're pansies compared to us 80s kids because
No, no, no,
we
no, no,
we
no,
we
no,
experienced
no,
the death of one of the most iconic
no,
characters back in
no.
the 80s, Optimus Prime in the
Okay,
Transformers
okay,
movie. There you go. So
okay,
we 80s kids
okay,
who saw our hero die in front of
Uh-huh.
us in the
okay.
theaters and
Yeah.
cried our eyes out and heard you guys crying your eyes out for Eris, we're thinking pansies.
In defense of those pansies who
Okay,
played
go
Final
ahead.
Fantasy, in defense of those
Mhm.
Right.
pansies who played Final Fantasy VII
Yeah, go ahead.
and got heartbroken when
Mm.
Aerith did
Kick the
suffered the
bucket.
fate that she had.
Okay.
Okay, um, in retrospect, it did made its game its resonance. It did give
Mm.
its resonance
It did.
Mhm.
because it with Aerith dying at such a horrible no, horrible way.
Mm.
Uh, the fans were thinking, okay, um, it kind of added more into its replayability because
Mm.
Mhm.
what if I made my decisions differently? Like for
Mm.
Mhm.
example, the story goes about the myth is that um, during the course of the game, you need to you need to choose a specific choices when being given the
Choices.
dialogue,
True.
different options, right? When you're being tasked to answer a few questions, and
Mhm.
then by the time you reach the carnival, during what was that? The
Cosmo
carousel ride.
Canyon.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, Cosmo Canyon. Ano nga ba pangalan nun?
Right? No, that's the thing.
Gold Saucer, Gold
And
Saucer. Yeah.
Gold
yeah,
saucer.
the golden saucer. Until one of the myths says that until Aries mentioned a specific phrase, then that means you're golden. That
Mhm.
means eventually she'll be back eventually. But despite of all of the replayabilities, despite of all of the branching out of the storyline, Aerith will still end up the way she did.
Skewered.
I will not
Okay.
dignify her fate by mentioning it. I will keep saying she just suffered a terrible fate. That's it.
Well,
Yeah.
let's just say in Pinas it's called tinuhog siya. Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah.
no, this is just me.
Ouch.
This is just me. This is just me still in denial. 30 years.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been 30 years.
Right.
I'm still in
Uh,
denial. I still haven't moved on.
we-
Mhm.
well, well, you could hope for what Dave Scott mentioned in Facebook.
Yes, Dave Scott
Remake the
is
Mhm.
game
yes.
and
Remake the
maybe
game.
keep her alive this
I
time.
mean, they
Well,
do have the capacity for it now. They do
there's
have the
already a
capacity for
remake.
alternate timelines.
Yeah.
They do have a capacity for alternate timelines.
Yeah.
Yes, PDM, go ahead.
Multiverse.
By the way, we debunked another myth right now, actually. So,
Mhm.
What?
girls, it's not true. Boys do cry.
Oh yeah, there you
Boys do
go.
cry
Very
too.
true. Very true. Good input on that one, JDM. I mean,
Guys
honestly,
don't have feelings. They don't cry.
that is
Yeah.
a myth. Actually,
No.
Joe does have a very good point on this. It does lend to its resonance. Aerith's death is one of the defining moments of video gaming. Sure, some people might say it's one of those moments that it's is a little bit overhyped or something like that. But the fact is, the
Mhm.
people who were there, who experienced it, did experience a lot of feelings when it happened. Eh,
Feelings.
You can now
Nothing
have
more
the
than
conversation with your
feelings.
Yeah.
significant other.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah,
I
because
cried.
you were
I
a kid
played
back
Final
then,
Fantasy VII.
right?
Mhm. There you go.
Right?
Well,
No,
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 the
no,
truth is,
Between Optimus Prime dying
mhm,
and Ares.
and
and
Yeah.
then Eric
Ares,
dying. So because, well, what? The original Transformers movie came out what in 1986.
1985,
I mean,
86. Yes.
good. For most of the kids then they're just what 2 3 years old. They don't know about
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But growing up, you played Final Fantasy VII,
Mm,
and that's your first encounter with death.
mhm,
That's the
Uh-huh.
first time you encounter with something so deep, something
mhm,
so real. Because you've been playing Ares from the very beginning, all up
Uh,
until this tree when she dies.
mhm.
mhm.
But I have to say that there's a major difference between the death of Optimus Prime and the death of Ares. Ares
True.
is a party member. You've you've ground her, you've leveled her
You
up, you've equipped her
ground
with
her.
the best stuff. Sorry,
You gro-
sorry,
you
phrasing,
groomed
phrasing,
her.
phrasing.
You
Okay,
pretty much groomed her to be with
phrasing,
you,
phrasing,
and you groomed
phrasing.
her. I mean, let's be
Okay,
honest here. You
phrasing.
practically
Okay,
groomed the
it's fine,
girl.
fine, fine. You've leveled her up to the point that she is.
Powerful
You've
enough.
invested a lot of time in her.
Mm.
You've invested in a lot of time in her for her to meet the fate that she did. Whereas
I
in
have to
Optimus,
ignore Tifa's boobs
uh,
just so that I can be with Ares. Come
fine,
on,
fine. But in
No!
Optimus
right?
Prime's case, he was your idol all throughout the first season of Transformers, and for
Transformers.
you to see him die, kick the bucket in the manner that he did was is it's the difference between seeing a best bud seeing a best bud die and seeing your idol die. I
Mhm.
guess it's there's a different resonance in those.
It's
So
True.
like your best friend die. I don't know what's worse. It's like your best friend dying or
mhm.
your true love dying.
I guess
A
Mm.
I
bit-
guess
I
that's a good.
guess.
For me, the thing with Ares is that
Mhm.
she wasn't really she was a pretty empty character. You know,
No.
you spent most.
What's my pearls?
Yeah, clutching pearls right there.
What's my pearls?
Mate, Tifa, you spent
Empty.
most of the early game
Mhm.
flirting with Tifa and messing about with Tifa, and then Ares just she was just there, weren't she? She were
Mm.
Ares felt like the
Mm.
person that if you and Tifa were to hook up and you were to be able to talk Tifa into having a threesome with another girl, then you'd go to Ares.
No, the thing is, Dan makes a good point on this one. Tifa was built with a good. No, 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 no. In terms of story wise, you were
It's
entering into
true,
Final
Sir
Fantasy
Joel. Huh?
VII.
It's
No,
true.
no. I mean, in terms of story wise, you're entering into Final Fantasy VII with Tifa having a backstory built up already. In Aerith, with Aerith, you kind of had to discover her backstory as you went along. I guess
Mhm.
that's the thing.
Yeah, I never missed her. When Sephiroth killed her, I was like, and plus, see again,
Mm,
like Sir Joel,
mm,
I'd seen it done before. It was no
mm,
shock to me. We had it in
mm.
Fantasy Star 2, and then we had it in Fantasy Star 4. And both those were like massive moments. You've
Oh
really
my
grown with
goodness,
both
yeah,
people. So
yeah. Pep.
when it comes to Fantasy
Ares
Star,
died in 3D. Come on.
Okay,
Your
we'll
your
give
girl
that to
saying
Joe.
nothing
We'll
on
give that to
Ares.
Joe.
He died in 3D.
we'll, we'll give that to Joe. We'll give that to him then.
And now she's going to die in high def.
Oh
In 4K.
yeah, there
Where's your
you
Final
go.
Fantasy star girl for now?
In 4K resolution.
With 4K resolution, there you go.
In
Honestly
4K
though,
resolution.
like Dave Scott says, with the multiversity, with the multiverse possibilities. You never know. They
But I
might.
digress.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine. You never know. You never know. It all depends on again. Developers might listen to all of the clamor that the
Mhm.
gamers are making right now, and they might do something. So we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out. Back to you, Sir
But
Pao.
but for now, Sergio, you have to accept that Ares will never be revived in the first game, in the original one. And can
Yes.
somebody clip that
She's
part where
alive.
he's shocked because his
She's alive
feelings were
here.
hurt?
She's
She's
alive in
alive
Sir
right
Joe's
here.
heart right there.
She's
But
alive here, and Tifa's alive here.
huh?
I'm
It's like
pointing at.
Easy, easy.
it's like the spear that was struck to Jesus Christ when she was when he was crucified.
Yeah, yeah. The spear of
It's
Longinus.
like the
Okay.
knife that stabbed Julius Caesar at the back.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
speaking of which, there is this called the book, which features Ares and Tifa on their
Mhm.
perspective during the course of the Final Fantasy VII game.
Ooh.
That book is available now if you guys want to check that out. Anyways, go back, go back. Step out.
I'll have to get the title of that book from you later, Joe.
We'll,
Okay.
we'll find that. And since you're so sad now, let's make you happy because I know you've been waiting for this rumor about the game Tomb Raider 2, the new Lara Croft. And
Mm-mm.
this portion is now rated PG.
All right, children, step out of the room. Go play with your Nintendos. Okay.
Or go play
or,
with
or
your joysticks, either or.
So
fine.
it,
Where's our conscience? Conscience. Oh no. Sir Raven had to step out. Okay. Anyway, continue.
So there has been a
Oh,
rumor
here's the
that
book.
in the second Tomb Raider game of the Sony PlayStation. Oh, there's the book.
Two pass. I'll remember that one.
So
Okay.
there's a possibility that you can, well, see Lara Croft undressed in the game.
Mm.
I'm I'm not sure which scene because well, honestly, I haven't played any Tomb Raider game before.
Okay.
Although this was probably born out of the fact that, well, let's be honest, even in a pixelated figure, Lara Croft is
Mm.
still so damn hot.
Nah, well. the
And
thing about
there.
the thing about Lara Croft is that she is one of the female gaming icons. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, it's not the fact that she was the first one. She was one of the big ones to break out. Really,
Yeah.
Metroid, Samus of Metroid is one of the first ones, but Lara Croft is one of the first ones to really make it to the big time, as in to hit popular culture, and everybody knew when you say Lara Croft, oh, she's that character in that video game, right? No, but when you say Samus Aran, people don't know who that is. You say Lara Croft, people know who Lara Croft is. Okay,
Yeah.
continue, Sir
And,
Pao.
and Kuya Joe, there's an uncensored part there. We might get caught.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there you go. Turn on your filters, Joe. Oh
Yeah, right there.
Oh, there we
my
go.
goodness. Okay,
There
fine,
you go.
fine, fine. Okay. Sorry, children. Okay.
So well, let's say it's not true. It's a busted myth. It will never happen in the actual game of Tomb Raider 2. But hell, for for someone to for someone to fantasize on a game, gamers will still male gamers will still hope for it.
Mm.
Actually, this rumor also reached to my high school. No, no. Actually, I did. So this was what 97, 98 when Tomb
Mhm.
Raider first came out, and I'm not even playing. I'm not even playing Tomb Raider, but I know who the character was. And then when I heard the rumor, I'm like, okay, sure.
Sure.
But there were a lot of my friends who were quite fixated on the idea,
Uh-huh.
and not even Game Shark codes work.
True.
And they said there's a specific area in which you can do this with the Game Shark codes, but it's still proven bullshit. It was just bogus. This was just this was just a product of a someone's prepubescent dream of some sort.
Well, at
Uh,
least at least the Game Shark can make your Ares revive, but cannot make Lara Croft nude.
Okay,
ah,
fine.
Fighting words. No, no, no. But seriously though, when the game developers heard about the rumor, they were just flabbergasted by the imagination of what the people came up with, and they
Mm.
thought, "Can we do that on the sequel?" But the publisher says no, so they had to remove it.
Ah,
Yeah,
and
they had the idea on the second game, but yeah, publisher says, "Nah, it's a good idea, but no."
and if you're someone who's looking forward for that, and the publisher says no, what would you be? Let's be honest here. What would you feel?
With all the pixelated glory, with all the blockiness, sure, why not?
Why not? Well, many gamers look forward for it, and look what Dave Scott mentioned here in our comments. One of the first thing I searched when I got access to the internet was for the Lara Croft nude codes, meaning he really
Brilliant.
looked forward to it.
In
Brilliant.
Actually,
relation
if you got
to
the internet, you really don't need the code. Just type Lara Croft nude.
Oh, but
It.
that
You,
back in the
you, you, don't- you
90s,
don't
that
you don't
wasn't
even have to play
possible
the game.
yet. Back in the 90s, Joe, that wasn't really readily available to the kid in the internet part
Yeah.
of the school library just yet.
And this was 1998, guys. So all
Mm.
in text.
And Reiki has mentioned something here. I'm not sure which Tomb Raider game. There was actually a code for making Lara nude, but then it does not really make Lara Croft nude. Instead, it will
Mm.
make Lara Croft explode.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Whoa.
Oh, sure, of course. I mean, it's not as controversial of making her nude.
Oh yeah.
Just make her explode there, sure.
Violence is
Uh,
perfectly acceptable. It's part
yeah,
of the video
violence
game
is
medium
okay,
already.
but sex and nudity is a no-no.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You have
I
to
think
go to the back part of the store for that one. Anyway.
in relation to the comment of Reiki about the
Exploding Lara
patches,
Croft. Oh,
I
patch.
think
Yeah.
this is the reason why we have modders, right? I think
Mm,
this like a paved way to the people in the community who are doing mods for the game, because
Yeah.
now you can actually, when there's a game that was recently released, for example
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 4, the remake,
Uh-huh.
people can have their own ideas and add those things that they want to see in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I'm I played Oblivion, I played Skyrim, so you have different mods there. You
mm.
can put um, like leprechauns in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think this really paved these myths really paved the way to modders
Mods. Yeah.
right now. And because back then, not all of the people have PCs. Like it was during the 90s, it was the time for console. It was a time for console players. So
Mhm.
you play right in the disc, in the cartridge. You can't do anything unless you are a programmer and you inserted a piece of code in the cartridge or in the disc. So it really made people think, and
Mm-hmm.
it like revolutionized PC gaming.
Yeah. And to make that simple, the only way for most myths to come true is through modifications.
Yeah,
Yeah.
True.
JDM makes a salient point. It
Mm-hmm.
was likely one of the kickers of the modding community. People really got into
Yeah.
modifying code, studying code, understanding how things
Yeah.
worked in the computers. Let's just say horniness is a great motivator. Okay.
Yes. well, well,
Yep,
Yes,
yep,
every single one of us
yep,
says yes to that one.
well,
yep.
those mods have made those fantasies come true,
Mm, mm,
especially in female characters like Jill Valentine in Resident Evil 3.
You'd be so surprised at all the streams that I catch
Yes.
sometimes on Facebook with all these
Oh,
mods running, and it's like, oh my goodness,
oh, you
yikes!
said
But
that
and they
too.
don't get
Mm-mm.
censored, but you
And
do.
they do not get censored. They do not get censored.
And you
And
get
you do.
censored for playing King's
But
Quest.
Joel streams get censored all the time.
Yeah, my
Oh,
streams
For
get
some reason.
censored like crazy. It's a
Easy.
DOS game for goodness sake. Okay.
Hashtag FUFB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh,
Agreed.
Ooh.
speaking of Final Fantasy and people who are dead, are we going
Uh-huh.
to talk about Squall? Squall is dead.
Oh yeah, that's another fan theory.
Hmm.
Joe, you might be more qualified for this because you are our resident RPG expert.
Yeah.
Oh no, not really.
Not
Sir,
really. No,
Sir
the
Dan is
fan.
the RPG expert.
Well, the fan.
And the
The
story goes is
mm,
that during almost by the end of this two, spoilers.
mm,
So Idea stabs Squall right square on the square on the right lung, and then the next morning he wakes up scot free, nothing. Like he just woke up like
mm,
nothing happened, right?
yeah.
So
Mm,
the speculation was he died right there on the spot, and everything
Mhm.
that happened from this tree onwards, it's just his dying dream.
mm,
Everything
Mm.
that happened.
And
Because if you're
that's
going to look at the first two discs, all of the events there, all grounded, like all mirror, or they were police procedural, all grounded, all military student life stuff. And then, and then when after the events of Idea,
Mhm.
magic, time travel, monsters going up to space, all of the lunacy stuff
Yeah.
starts
yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
which kind of begs to differ. Are we still talking about this? Are we still talking about the same game here?
Yeah.
So the
Dan
fan
had
theory
something to
was,
say about that
yeah.
one.
So the fan theory was everything that's happening from these three onwards is just his dying dream.
You were about to say, Dan.
No, and I love that theory. I think it works
Mm.
brilliantly with the game because
Um,
it fits like Joel just explaining there. It fits in brilliantly with the events of the game, and for me, it actually gives the game. It makes the game better. If I view it from that fan theory point of view, it makes it more interesting and better because
Kind of
it,
creepy, actually.
it gets so ridiculous, doesn't it? That is one of the things about Final Fantasy VIII for me is that, like Joe says, it's kind of grounded. It stays within the confines of its own rules for quite a
Right.
while, and then it it does stupid stuff. Do you know what I mean? It really when
It goes bonkers.
yeah, when you're floating out in space, you know, it's things like that. I'm like, what? It just it don't
And time travel,
yeah,
dimension distorting, Renoa falling in love with you.
yeah.
Yeah, those are all dreams.
It's all exactly. If you try to, if you the setup's great, and then if you if you have the conclusion, if you just try and accept it normally, it's very hard to do that because it's not. It's a bit nonsensical. It's just
Mm.
yeah. If you have the conclusion as part of Joe theory, it becomes a much better game for it. So I think that works. That
It's one of
And
those.
there's also this ending, the ending scene when you finally beat the final boss. There's this montage of different images, and then it goes right there, the
yeah.
hollow face of Squall.
Mm.
mhm.
It's one of those fan theories that actually enhances your experience of the game. Hmm.
And I wonder what did Square mention about that.
Oh,
Whoever.
I read about that, and according to the game developers, they said no, everything happened as it is.
Oh.
Squall's not dead. Everything was meant to be this way.
Oh. But then the way the story was portrayed, it made it look like that it's just
It
a dying
it
dream.
did well. It kind of made some sense if you think about it. Thinking that Squall was in limbo state at the time.
Mm.
Like
It
it
go,
kind of explains why these things are happening. Like Sir Dan mentioned.
the end the back end of Final Fantasy VIII is just nonsensical. It's
It was okay during the first two discs, to be
yeah
honest. If they
yeah.
just kept on it, sure, why not?
Mhm.
It's just that them last it doesn't tie up very well. Basically,
Mhm.
the setup is great, and then the
Mhm.
delivery of what you get, you just think that doesn't really make any sense. It leaves a lot of questions, more questions than answers. So
So
if you
apparently, are you going to tell me that all of your party members lived in the same orphanage when you were kids during at
Exactly.
the time, and you just suddenly forgot all about it, only because you keep using your summon GFs?
exactly exactly
Mm.
that's
So
a perfect
every
example.
time you use your guardian forces, every time you summon these creatures, a piece of your memory gets lost. So are you
Mhm.
saying, okay, sure, that's fine? Oh, it just so happens, all of us here, all six of us here, we all lived in the same orphanage when we were kids, but I just forgot. We
Yeah,
all
Oh.
just forgot.
and
Oh.
it's yeah. I totally agree, mate. Totally agree.
Well, after all, it's Final Fantasy.
It is called fantasy though.
Well,
It is called Final Fantasy Star.
yeah. Oh, Final Fantasy Star. So to continue mentioning about modifications in games. So certain myths have made them possible, including the last one we have here from the era of the DVDs, specifically in PS2, the game GTA San Andreas, wherein
Uh,
a Bigfoot monster exists in the game. And this myth was based on the fact that in a certain area in a forest, there is a silhouette of somebody like what we're seeing right now, and they believe that it was a Bigfoot monster. But then through modifications, game some some modders have made it possible that a Bigfoot monster does exist in GTA San Andreas. But on the actual game, on the actual game itself, that that silhouette in the forest is still very much unknown to what creature that is or whoever that is.
Mm.
The way I
Well,
heard it was just the way I heard it. It was some glitch from the coding of the game that just which coincidentally it just sprung within the forest, and every time you see something in the forest, you'll the first thing you'll think of is the Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I haven't played any GTA game before, so
Yeah,
I would not dare make a guess on who's that
who's that
silhouette.
Pokemon?
Who's that Pokemon right
Who's that Pokemon? Yeah.
there?
Might be Hitmonlee, might be Hitmonchan.
Oh
I don't
my
know,
goodness.
or
Or
maybe
maybe
Mankey or Primeape
or Machoke.
or Macho.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
So,
Machamp.
I'm gonna venture into PGR rated territory here, but my personal opinion is that maybe the big hairy monster in San Andreas is related to CJ. So, another myth, a rumor that actually got proven to be real, which is the hot coffee mod. All right.
Ooh.
Oh
the,
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There you go.
that coffee.
There
You know
you go.
what's true in San Andreas? There
Mm.
are a lot of things that happening in San Andreas. There's a ghost car in the middle of
Ah,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
the ghost
Lane
car.
County. It was a. I'm not sure if it was intended to be there, but there's a spawn point of a car in the middle of the forest that whenever it spawns, it's going to drop in like an inclined uh, uh, what do you call this point in that county. That's why it's like moving towards
Mm.
the character CJ because it was inclined. So once it spawns in that point, it
Keeps on
moves
moving by
towards
itself.
the character depending on where the character is. So I think it was intended to be there. And there's also a part in the near the lake. There's a lake there. It
Mm-hmm.
has like a wheelchair
Mm-hmm.
in on the riverbanks. I think it's an homage to the slasher flicks
Oh.
Breathe.
in the
Oh.
70s and 80s. Yeah.
Oh.
And yeah, that one. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly the one.
Well, that's the only thing I can drive personally.
And uh, the reason I guess the reason why there are so many of these things is because for during that time we were introduced to the open world genre where you
True.
can just
Mm.
drive around. um, you can drive around and explore the area instead of going to the like the main doing the main quest. So people are like into treasure hunts or something like that just to make
Mm-hmm.
like for example they're stressed at work or at school, they just have to play this game and explore. They don't really want to like going through the game. They're like just playing casually. So
Mm-hmm.
they see a lot of things here in San Andreas and even in other games, right? Like in Oblivion, in Skyrim. There are so many, and actually, most some of them are side quests. instead of just these Easter eggs.
Well, in defense of Rockstar,
Mm-hmm.
in creating, so this was the PS2 era, and creating something like an open world
Yeah.
game, there's bound to be some glitches here and there. I mean, I'm not going to expect them to create something so airtight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, eventually, some people will find some things, some anomalies that were not supposed to be there, and most likely, the later GTA games, they perfected it a little bit more. They programmed the games a bit more tightly compared to the PS2 trilogies, of course. And
But
these are
again,
just happy. I'm gonna say happy discoveries, though.
as you mentioned, it is an open world game
Mm.
that is bound with glitches or
Yeah,
things that are
because
not supposed.
it was a big undertaking in their part.
Ah,
I mean, I'm not.
yeah,
I mean, right?
true. And I suffer
Pretty ambitious,
and I think the latest Pokemon game suffered the same thing since that's an
right?
open world thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, there were glitches when it was first released until they get to fix them from time to time for each and every update.
Oh, Sir Bell is asking if we are done with the arcades.
Yeah, yeah,
I think we can still allot 30 minutes more for that one. Sure, before we end the show.
well, we mentioned already the Street Fighter thing
Hmm.
How about
Shenlong.
Polybius?
Yeah, and
We haven't talked about
and
Polybius.
oh
Do you
yeah,
mind? Do you mind if I squeeze a few Chrono Trigger myths in?
Ah, okay. Here we go.
Is that
Sure,
okay?
go,
Yeah.
go, go, go. Shoot.
Right. Okay. Let me see if I can get these up for you.
sure.
So back to the very start of the show.
Mhm.
We discussed why people make these myths up. So obviously promotion, word of mouth, etc. Well, one of the reasons as well, fanboyism.
Mm,
Fanboyism. A, a lot of these people, make things up really to try and claim ownership of certain things.
mhm.
So back to Chrono Trigger, my the game that everybody knows that winds me up big time.
Mhm.
I've shared a screen. I don't know if Joe can pop that on, but this is a conversation of one of the chaps who basically I've asked this guy. So you tell me what Chrono Trigger did before any other game that makes it so special.
Mhm.
And these are the myths that this guy either he's made them up himself or believes it. But I've seen this claimed many times. I've seen this claimed like like most days in various different groups.
And I guess that answers the first question of our next part. Where did you learn these myths about Chrono Trigger?
Well, exactly.
No
Well,
random
this is
back.
just Facebook groups, obviously, and this is something I read a lot, especially in the RPG groups on Facebook.
You know
So,
what? Maybe these were his criteria on that
well,
during the time when Chrono Trigger was first released.
Mhm.
Because
well,
with time travel, I would say Secrets of Evermore and Terranigma, sure. Multiple game endings. There are other RPGs during the 16-bit era who had those ones. New Game Plus. What are the 16-bit RPGs who
well,
that had New Game Plus?
your first new game plus was Zelda 2, which were 8
Oh,
bit.
Oh, sure.
I
So
see.
it's again. So yeah. So time travel. There were, to be fair, there were
It's
a
not
few.
really exclusive though. Time travel.
Now
I mean,
there were a few earlier RPG. I mean, even Earthbound were out before that, weren't it? And that had time traveling. Fantasy Star 3. Fantasy Star 3 had time travel. You know, one of the endings on Fantasy Star 3, you travel back through a black hole and time. So I can kind of see where he's coming from with the time travel one. But the other ones, definitely not. Multiple endings were done in various games before. Again, Phantasy Star 3 did that in 1990. So when people start claiming that a 1995 game did something for the first time, I mean that's a big gap, a 5-year gap. Do you know what I mean? That's a huge myth. New game.
Unless, of course, they haven't played the Fantasy Star games, though.
Well, if it's
I
not,
mean,
if it's not, if it's
if
not
they
played
haven't
it,
played those games, then they can pretty much easily say this one.
if he's not played it, fair enough. But I'm not asking him what game did you play first at it. I'm asking him what was the first game, and I'm not just asking this kid. I'm asking. This is throughout no end of groups. This is where the myths come from. They believe that Chrono Trigger was the first RPG with multiple endings, and there were quite a few. I mean, I'm saying Phantasy Star 3, but there were a few PC ones that had it as well before. I'm sure there were one back as early as like 87. So character combined attacks that had been done in Phantasy Star 4 several years earlier. And non-random battles that had been done on Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, and the first one I'm aware of was Sorcerer's Kingdom in 1992 on the Sega Mega Drive. So again, this is another example of where gaming myths come from. Is that basically people look at Chrono Trigger, think, "Wow, I love that game. I love it so much. I'm gonna pretend it did all these things," and it didn't.
And that answers the third question: if was the myth true? And you just busted it. But I don't think you're not disappointed at
No,
all.
and the thing about it is, this guy presented a list of stuff that is objectively false, but maybe subjectively true for him.
Yes.
Because it's
Yes.
in his experience, it might have been the case that was the first time that he experienced these. But objectively speaking, if you fact check him,
Yes.
are these elements the first time that actually showed up on Chrono Trigger?
And the
They're
question,
objectively false.
exactly, mate. The question I asked him, if you read the very top line there, it says, so I've asked him, in what ways did Chrono Trigger invent things to pave the way for future RPGs? And he's replied, it paved the way in many ways. People did learn from it. What are you talking about? And these are the examples. So he's not just saying, he's not saying these are my experiences of it. He's saying the gaming industry looked at Chrono Trigger as an example, and that's where it got all its ideas from. And like I say, that is just factually incorrect.
Yes.
So, and it happens all the time. It's basically born out of Chrono Trigger fans so desperate for that game to be worshipped that they have to claim it does everything, and that drives me potty.
It's just bad in terms of the fact that if you spread myths like this, which are objectively false, it does distort history overall. And that's not a good way of going about things, because we have as we can objectively prove these things wrong. And if for rumors like this to keep spreading, or if you force this rumor to keep spreading just so that you can satiate your fanboyism, that's not a good way to go about it.
Could not agree.
And
The more you say something, eventually, the more real it becomes. And that, guys, was our new segment, Chrono Trigger Ain't Shit.
There you go. That's it. All right, I'm all for that one.
And I would like to retranslate one of our viewers' comments, Reiki, in a line more popularly known in Star Wars. The bias is strong with this one.
There you go.
Very true.
All right.
Very true.
All
Mate.
right, Sir
Sir
Pao,
Bell mentioned there about Red Alert 2. The myth was Red Alert 2 was the inspiration towards the 9/11 attacks.
yeah. Okay.
Horribly
Saying that the third plane that crashed in the Pentagon was inspired from Red Alert, but Red Alert came out in 2000, of course, and then unfortunately the third plane crashed in the Pentagon the year after that. But hey, who knows? Like maybe Osama bin Laden was playing Red Alert 2. Oh, okay, we can do this. I mean, who knows, right?
And to think the first Soviet mission is to destroy the Pentagon.
There you go. That's
Everybody
it.
wants to destroy the Pentagon.
It's true. It's true. I mean,
Russia, China, Iraq.
mm-mm. Well,
So what's
it's a nice little lightning rod. It's a nice little lightning rod.
Ooh.
Yeah, you were about to say, Dan.
so yeah? So what's the first game that you can actually destroy the Pentagon in? Did you know?
Uh, Not off the top of my head. Which one is it?
Jungle
Chrono
Strike.
Trigger.
Sorry, which one?
Chrono Trigger.
No, I mean,
You heard it here only. Chrono
whoever
Trigger.
this guy is, he's got a lot of spunk. I'll have to hand it to him when he listed this out. He has brass balls.
Not about
for
no,
the
it's
day.
not about Chrono Trigger. It's Luca who
Yeah.
destroyed the Pentagon.
Oh my goodness. Okay, fine. All right, Sir Pao, handing it back to you. What is you were about to say the second to the last segment, which is the
Yeah.
gaming myths that each panelist
Each guy
discovered
is
and tried to
discovered,
prove.
trying to prove if it's true or not. And I think Dan answered that with that Chrono Trigger thing. And
Mm.
I would like to know your own discoveries, even at least one gaming myth that you found. And did you try to prove it by playing it or by watching it on videos? And if it was not
Mm.
true, how disappointed were you?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going first. So, um, this was my game is Yu Yu Hakusho for the Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
actual.
Um, where is that one? So the
Is that
story was on the character select screen.
Mhm.
I'm gonna show the image here.
Is
Mhm.
it about a secret character?
The secret character, yes.
I've
So,
heard it.
um, where is that one? So the story was between Chu and the younger Taguro.
Hmm.
There's a quite a, there's a suspicious space right there. Hang on, I'll just put it in. Oh, there's no big, there's nothing bigger here. There's a suspicious space right over there. So this is Chu right here, and
Right.
there's younger Taguro right here. And for some reason, there's a space right here in between them.
Oh, I see.
If you can see right there, I mean, I'm trying to see. I'm trying to look for a bigger resolution there.
Right click, open image in new tab.
And no, it's only 320 by 224. I'll look
Oh,
for a bigger one. Is that one? Well, anyways, the story was there's supposed to be a
oh,
hidden
there,
character right
there,
there.
much bigger.
Ah, all right there.
Yeah.
See right there. So so if you're going to look at them closely, they are well spaced all together, except for this one here.
The one with the
So the
punk hair,
story was there's
big
supposed to be a
side.
secret character there, and
Mm-hmm.
there were speculations on who was going to be there. Um, some people thought it might have been from the Dark Tournament. Some people thought it might be another henchman from Sensui.
Uh-huh.
But nope. Despite of everything, not even the guides, even at this time, can even prove this.
These are
Even
all
if you
Dark Tournament
play,
characters, right?
yeah, alternate characters, and those are the playable characters. Even if you play them in the hardest difficulty, one by one, nothing shows. However, in the options menu, if you search for the BGM
Mm-hmm.
audio audio clips, there's this unfamiliar voice clip coming from somebody who is not among the playable characters. So my guess would have been there might be some guy who's supposed to be a hidden character there, but for some reason it wasn't included during the coding of the game. It's just
Mm.
so either they rushed the production, they forgot about this guy, and the audio clips was just there.
Oh.
So I cannot say it's proven that he's not there, he or she is not there, but there's supposed to be someone there.
Yeah. And
That's
how this
well. That's for me. Yeah, I played this game ever since I got my Mega Drive back in 1995. I played the game. I played the game religiously after school. I got shit. I ain't got nothing. I got what? Nothing.
well, with that, an additional question for you would be who would you want to be in that little space over there?
The popular belief what it was supposed to be Karasu would have been great. All black,
Notice
long hair,
noticeable noticeable that
right?
Karasu is not even there.
Good. Karasu ain't there. Well,
Oh,
like I said, it's either someone from the Dark Tournament. There's a lot. You already got Chu, you already got Jin, and
mhm.
then the Takuro brothers. Who else do you want to be there? I would say someone from Sensui's posse,
Or the Demon World
Sniper
Tournament,
maybe.
like Mokuro and Yomi.
Oh no, Mokuro, Yomi, and Ryzen was already in the final game anyway.
Oh yeah, I see.
Yu Yu Hakusho final, SNES. So they already have their own game, but this was during the time of right after the aftermath of the Dark Tournament. So
Dark Tournament.
hey,
Uh,
anyways, that's just that's the game for me.
I see. How about who's next? Well, anyone, or I could give my
JDM, you wanna go first?
yeah.
Yeah, it's actually not the. I did not find this out because um, I just saw it in the magazine. If I could just share it, have
Mhm.
you ever heard of the like a cheat code that you can play as Goki or Akuma in Resident Evil 2
Oh,
by
I haven't
using
heard of that one.
only a handgun and a knife. Then you
What?
have to finish it
Tama,
6 times.
sis na yun.
Let me see if I could share it.
So
Have you?
in this story, you can defeat Nemesis by doing a Shoryuken or Hadouken to his face,
Mm,
Or the Raging Demon itself?
or Raging Demon.
So this I found this um, in
So all of you
like an
Resident Evil
original.
players, right there, you can challenge yourself with this one.
All right. So this is it. You need to play both scenarios 6 times. So you need to play. Technically, you need to play it 12
12.
times,
Yeah.
right? Then there's a part in the Umbrella Lab where you can register your fingerprint and enter your name. So you need to place Akuma instead of guest. And then on the next playthrough, on your 13th playthrough, you're going to receive this cutscene, which I think is supposed to be a cutscene of Akuma coming out of a uh, cryo chamber. Then you can see him doing a Hadouken to an enemy, and there's also a like a photo here which includes Mr. X.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
See,
What April? Oh,
and
what
then
what April Fool's year is this?
and then I just realized that this issue was released by EGM2. This magazine was EGM2. It's like a spin-off of Electronic Gaming
Gaming
Monthly,
Monthly.
mm.
EGM.
Released
And
by
this magazine focused about uh,
Bullshit.
cheat codes, a thousand of cheat codes instead
Oh,
of
Tricks of the Trade.
the like reviews.
Uh-huh.
It has reviews, but like in minimal. So most of them are tricks of the trade. This one, the cheat codes, the walkthroughs, and then I actually had this copy back in 1998, which my cousins borrowed, and they did not return it. The other
Yeah,
ones
isn't
tried.
that always the
That's
case?
the urban legend
You
right there.
you bastards.
Yeah.
So
There
Oh,
you go.
so this is the
GM
cover.
squared. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Alright. So it's the 1000 greatest tricks. As you can see, April of
That was a trick.
1998, and
Of
then
April.
on the
Oh,
next
I saw
page,
April right there. I saw
okay.
April right there.
So it's
and then
April.
I saw
on the next
April right there.
and on the next page, you will see this like editor rant.
Article.
Yeah, he did a rant about the animals, like we mentioned earlier about PETA. Why not
Uh,
kill uh, people instead of the endangered species,
I
since
saw
they
April right there. 98. God damn it.
probably deserve it anyway. And then you can see here editor stats, Golden Eye Rental, It Takes Two, Find the Fool. There's an April Fool hidden inside. So, but they did
That's
not
you.
actually mention it in the next month. So it was actually a practical joke. And
Mm.
I was one of the lucky kids back there who was not gullible enough to do this kind of things. I can't even like beat the first boss with the handgun or a knife. I need to use my shotgun or my uh like my desert eagle.
Grenade launcher.
Yeah, the grenade.
Tell you what, I don't. I never realized there was such a holiday as an April Fool's.
Mhm.
Not until I was in college, actually.
True. Mm.
Like I
So
never real like so every time April hits, I never the term April Fools never hit me the same way. I always thought, it's just April. But of course, this is just this is just a Western semi pseudo holiday of some
uh-huh.
sort.
So I guess we can conclude right now that these myths are mostly April Fool's thing.
Most of them, yes.
Unless somebody in the community can actually place Akuma in the Resident Evil 2 game.
Mods.
Yeah, mods
mod
Mods.
mod.
like ROM hacks or something like that. That I
How about
would
Sir Jolo?
want.
Oh, me personally, the only myth that I remember having heard of in grade school and during the playground was one concerning the Nintendo Game and Watch. I'm sharing the screen right now. Maybe Joe can put it up. My favorite Nintendo Game and Watch back then was one called Parachute. And
Oh,
for those of you who are not familiar with it, the Game and Watches are little handheld LCD games where you can play very small but addictive quality games that you would carry around with you, and you would get high scores. There would be no
Kids,
ending to it,
legend
no plot.
has it there's this device that you can actually carry inside your pocket and just play.
Yes.
Even
Mm-mm.
before there was Game Boy,
There
there
was
was
just
such a
one game
legend
on it
called Game
though.
and Watch.
Yes, there was just one game on it, and that's why you, as a Game and Watch player, had to have that Game and Watch and trade with your buddies who had other Game and Watches too. I had this one in particular, Parachute. My other buddies had Octopus. My other buddies had Fire. My other buddies had Egg, where you had to catch eggs being laid by other animals. But the thing about it is, the rumor was that if you hit a certain number of points in Game and Watch in grade school, you would get a screen, a thank you screen from the Nintendo developers saying you won the game, which is actually impossible because that myth is pretty much impossible because the LCD screen had no capacity. If you had a look very closely, the patterns on the LCD had no
There's
capacity
nothing.
for it to show a congratulations or a thank you screen on it. It's just these characters.
There was
These
nothing.
yes, there was absolutely nothing that could make that happen. But kids my age who were playing Game and Watch back then, was were trying for it anyway. They were trying for the highest score possible to try to catch that congratulations or thank you screen from the developers or from the programmers in Nintendo. So that was something I tried it. I tried to reach as high as I could, but in the end of it, the game got too fast for me, and of course the parachuters would
Yeah.
always get eaten by the sharks. So
But Uncle
I
Joel, how
yeah.
come it's a game and a watch at the same
Same
time?
time.
Yes,
Where are
it was
legs?
innovative actually. Grandson Reikyu. It was pretty innovative during the day because the legend goes that the developer of the Game and Watch was traveling on the Japanese subway, and he saw a businessman, a Japanese businessman, across the aisle, so bored that he was doing nothing but play with his calculator, his old LCD calculator. And he saw, I'm not quite sure if it was Gonpei Yokoi who actually did that, but he saw a possibility of developing something that will allow for people to at least play while they're on the go. Hence, the Game and Watch was developed. So it was a game, and it could tell you the time when you propped it up on your desk so that you could see what time it was until your work was over, and that you could play the game again. So it
No,
was a
I
Game
don't
and Watch.
believe you. The next you'll tell us you can watch the movies in your phone. What's next?
Oh, fine, fine, okay, all right, kid, go outside, go play outside.
You can watch movies in your phone? No, you're
Give
lying.
me your phone. Go play outside. Go play in the mud. There you go. So that
Eat some
was
sand.
yeah, go eat some sand. Rub dirt on your wound. Okay, so that was the myth that was going around in grade school during my time. Game and Watch had a congratulations screen if you hit the high score, which was impossible. It never happened. We all tried it. It just got faster and faster until you died, until all of your misses accumulated and the game was over. It was, I guess it was, was some silly kid's way of trying to, trying to say, hey, I achieved high score and I got the congratulations screen. Beat you to it,
Yeah,
something like that.
congratulations. You got eaten by a shark. Yeah, there's no choice
Exactly.
there.
So that was my personal experience of getting an urban myth or a legend that everybody tried to prove true, but we never did. Back to
I
you, Sir
wonder
Pao.
how many Game and Watch got confiscated back in elementary school.
Lots,
Oh
lots.
no.
That's the
Because I
thing. What?
remember my classmates, like they bring their Game Gear, they bring
Mm,
their Game Boys. They got
mm.
confiscated because they keep on
You
playing,
were playing
even
it during
when
class.
During
even
class,
in
yeah.
between recess when the teacher like comes in, they just get like they like actually snatch the thing away from you,
You
and
just took
then
it. You just took it.
yeah,
Now,
And
maybe
that's some
they're just
bullshit. I
trying
mean,
to
recess is
one
our time. It's our private time. It's also supposed to be our free time. We can do shit. I mean, we can do our own shit. They
mm-mm.
have no
and
business taking away our
maybe
stuff.
No, what
it's
happened
their
was,
it's their alibi to so they could actually try
Play the games.
the games themselves
but
when they're in the faculty room,
yeah,
right?
but
Oh, I have this Game Boy
some
from one of the kids.
there you go. Although some idiots in my buddy group would still play their Game and Watches during class, and that would
Yeah.
get it confiscated. And
Well, that's on you. That's on
exactly,
him.
that was on them. And but
That
then
was
again,
on him.
that ruined the fun for everybody, because then the parents had went up in arms and said you can't bring your Game and Watch anymore because the teacher will confiscate it. So our underground economy of exchanging Game and Watch machines with each other for an hour at a time just went kaput. So
True. Then now for just to make this quick for me, hey, he reached 200 points.
he reached 200 points. He erases his misses once he reached 200 points.
Oh,
Mm-mm,
so now I see. Well,
mm-mm,
just to make this quick for me, the I have been through a lot of rumors and gaming myths, but the one that stands out to me is this one rumor from Symphony of the Night.
mm.
And with having four possible endings based on how are you beating the game, on how many percent or whom are you going to kill just to beat the game. There has this rumor of the so-called fifth ending for for the Symphony of the Night. And I nearly thought that it's true because there was actually a leak recording from the voice actors of the game on what the fifth ending would have looked like if it happened
Mm,
in the real game. And to spoil the story, it is Maria Renard being becoming a monster, killing Richter Belmont, and then it will lead to a final battle between Alucard and Maria Renard,
mm.
and the ending would be Alucard will be the lone survivor in everyone there.
I mean, heck, if that rumor got bolstered by people talking about what the ending might have looked like, I wouldn't
Yes,
be surprised that actually the rumor would fly. Mhm.
but then it was never released in the game, so
Mm,
it remained a rumor, and we're
mm,
stuck with these four endings wherein the two of them, Richter will be killed by Alucard, and only Maria and Alucard will survive. One e- with one ending with Maria not following Alucard, and one ending with Maria falling in love with Alucard.
mm. Well, all right. Well, I guess that certainly was a rumor that, I guess a lot of people might have been interested in it becoming true, but sad to
True.
say, it just never happened.
And
All right.
another ending with Akuma coming out of a cryo
Ah,
cryo chamber.
oh my goodness.
Uma will be coming out of the coffin
Yeah.
if you did the Konami code.
Oh
All
yeah,
right.
that's another Konami game. I
Oh yeah,
want.
that's another Konami game. Yeah, that's true.
I wonder if the code will work if I try it later.
Mhm. All right, and I guess it's back to Joe for the final wrap up.
All right.
Yes.
So it's 3 hours. God damn
Yeah.
it. All right.
Mhm.
So
Time really flies.
um closing
Time flies when you're
remarks,
having fun.
and then closing remarks regarding the gaming myths, and shameless plug. Where can they find you? Let's
Mm.
start with Sir JDM.
Yes.
Closing
On
remarks,
the
shameless
Marcos.
plug.
One, two, three, go. Um, I'm streaming on Facebook. No, not anymore because I decided not to continue with Facebook gaming at least for now, indefinitely. So I'm transitioning to
Do it for
Twitch.
good. Do it for
I'm
good.
switching to Twitch,
Switching to
and
Twitch.
then yeah, you can catch me Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The time I can't specify a time now because tomorrow, a few hours from now, I'm going to be working on a day shift. So I guess I will be doing my streams in the evening. So see you guys there.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir JDM. How about Sir Dan? Closing remarks and where they can find you.
Closing remarks. I enjoyed that. I thought there were a lot of interesting things that we focused on there. So I learned quite a lot. So thank you very much for that, Sapau.
Yeah.
You want to come and find me? Come to the Sega Genesis Facebook group and keep your eye out for the Sega Mega Masters show that we're going to be doing over the next few months. I'll keep you posted.
Or you can also go to his Gmail account, ihatechronotrigger.com.
Well,
.uk. All right. How about Sir Joel?
All right. Closing remarks. Uh, uh, Gaming myths, urban legends, they're still all part of the gaming landscape. It's because we are always looking around to have fun, not just with whatever's already provided to us, but also with what else might be, depending on our imagination. So things like that are part of the landscape. If you think that it adds to the fun of it, very cool. If it's something that you are pushing to distort a little bit of history, then it's not cool. So I would highly recommend that you do your research first. Make sure that the things that you know about are factual, or at least have a basis in fact. And as for me, you can find me. You cannot find me streaming on Facebook anymore because of hashtag FUFB.
UFD.
Okay. The main reason is because of all the copyright strikes. I am not willing to risk my account there anymore. streaming DOS games, you get a copyright strike. Whereas if you stream with your boobs out, you're perfectly fine. You can find me on twitch.tv right now under Banyagang Native, or on the brand new platform kick.com. Look for Banyagang Native as well. Please check out my streams over there. Less restrictions, more fun. And of course, Pinoy Retro Gaming, the Facebook gaming page, and on Twitch as well. Pinoy Retro Gaming, the organization that helps and educate and entertain you with retro content from the olden days to now.
All right, and Chrono Trigger sucks fight me.gmail.com.nj. The one leading the charge for this evening, Sir Pa, where can they find you? And closing remarks.
Well, it's still April, so April Fools. Nah, just kidding. So,
Oh yeah, right.
It is. Mm.
so these bits, we may be disappointed with some of them, but at least we learned a lot from them, and it's still fun to discover a few, even at this late point of time. But then, what if what if for those who were busted, they were true? How different would it be for all of us? And I guess
Mm.
I'm following the footsteps of everyone here to stop streaming on FB anymore.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, you will still find me on my YouTube, Twitch, also on Kick, and probably I'm gonna start in Restream. Also, I post my Twitch links on Kofi if you don't want to go straight on Twitch. So hope to see you around hope to see you around on my next stream, and I'm glad to be in this episode, and I'm glad to spend the remaining moments of me being 33 with you here on Timeless Gamer.
Mm.
Happy birthday, mate. Have a good one.
Mm.
Yeah,
All
Happy
thank you.
right.
birthday, Sir Pao. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Sir Pao. And so for this episode, guys, so video games are no strangers to people who have the wildest imaginations. Clearly, over the years, a lot of games have garnered unwarranted publicity from people coming up with theories, rumors, urban legends,
Exaggerations.
even exaggerations, and even creepypastas. No, the even the first generation of games, even during the time of Atari, when Warren Robinett initially started his own rumor about a secret room on his game Adventure, only because Atari refused to credit the game developers. So he had to create the buzz for himself, just so that he could be recognized for the game. And from rumors, it became the very first Easter egg, and then other games took suit.
Mhm.
And we had fun discussing some of the video games that we mentioned earlier, and there were quite a lot of them. And there's still a lot to cover in regarding with the urban legends, the myths. But it's already been 3 hours, guys, and
Still not enough.
whichever speculations that we mentioned, some of them may have some shred of legitimacy, or was there something more than the game developers put on? But who knows? That's why it's for us gamers to know and to find out as well. And you can catch our previous shows. You can catch our previous shows by going to the YouTube channel, Timeless Gamer PRG, or just by going to the Facebook page of Pinoy Retro Gaming. Everything's all archived there. Or if you just want to listen to our audio version of our shows, you can just search Timeless Gamer by searching in Spotify or other audio podcast platforms out there. And with that, our games and bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain. Hey,
Timeless.
Amra,
Timeless.
bye guys.
Shut
See
up.
you
Thank you,
guys
thank you,
again
thank
next time.
Chrono Trigger sucks.
Bye.